Recall a person furthermore. Wasn't Ling Jun caring a bit too much about this old friend of hers? In the midst of Yi Wanwan's suspicion, Ling Jun's expression returned to normal, as though what she saw earlier was a figment of her imagination. Since Miss Nia mentioned there was someone similar to me in appearance, I got curious and asked a few questions. You don't mind, right, Miss Nia? I don't mind. In truth, the world is so big, so it isn't strange to have similar-looking people, Yi Wanwan replied. It's just, after listening to Miss Nia's description, I do recall a person like that, Ling Jun calmly said. Ooh, Hilianjua. Have you heard of this name, Miss Nia? Ling Jun asked. Yi Wanwan was startled. She didn't expect Ling Jun to guess correctly, but she did make it pretty obvious. Hence, Yi Wanwan scratched her head and didn't bother to conceal it anymore. I was referring to him indeed. Ling Jun shook his head and chuckled lightly. I believe Miss Nia is aware that Lianjue doesn't have a good relationship in the 12 independent states. As they say, one is marked by the company one keeps, so I hope that Miss Nia can break all ties with this kind of person and doesn't become too close to him. The rumor said that Lianjue and Ling Jun fought and revered utterly different types of martial arts. One was good, while the other was evil. They were basically archenemies. Yi Wanwan's eyes glinted, and she frantically waved her hand. Not close. I said earlier that I wasn't familiar with Lianjue at all. I look at my memory. What's that old freak's name again? Hilien something? I suddenly forgot. The corners of Ling Jun's lips twitched as he stared at her. Really? But how come I heard Miss Nia had a deep connection to Lianjue and that you were master and disciple? Yi Wanwan's heart skipped a beat. She hastily refuted. That's a rumor. Shit. Very few people knew about Lianjue wanting to take her on as his disciple. So how did Ling Jun know? However, he had eyes everywhere, so it wasn't strange that he knew. Is that really so? Ling Jun was expressionless, more real than a pearl. Yi Wanwan was convicted. I absolutely don't have that kind of relationship with Lianjue. You can investigate it however you want. Yi Wanwan's words weren't false, per se. Back then, Lianjue demanded to take her on as his personal disciple with the condition that she had to break all ties with her other teachers and wasn't allowed to learn martial arts from anyone else, including her grandpa. There was no way she would agree. Anyway, Lianjue was basically a wanted criminal in the independent state and was the archenemy of the president of the Arbitration Council. If Ling Jun were to learn about her relationship with Lianjue, it'd be disastrous. Amen, that's good. Ling Jun smiled faintly a long while later. All right, President E, since you're here today and I came here, there's a matter that requires your judgment. President, Yi Wanwan began after a moment of thought. I'm listening, Ling Jun said. President E, it's like this. I believe you're aware that a war occurred between the direct line and the collateral branch in our state some time ago. In my earlier years, I created a faction called the Fearless Alliance. When the direct line and the collateral branch were preparing for battle, the Fearless Alliance signed an alliance treaty with the direct line, and we were both obligated to assist each other. However, what do you think happened? The direct line is absolute scum. When the Fearless Alliance encountered trouble, the direct line ignored our perils and caused the Fearless Alliance to be defeated and suffer enormous losses. Must be given a punishment, Yi Wanwan scrupulously reiterated the matter, her face filling with fury after she finished speaking, as if she wanted nothing more than to shred the direct line into a million pieces. Oh, that happened? Ling Jun looked pensive. Yi Wanwan nodded vehemently. Yes. I didn't expect the direct line to act like that. We suffered enormous losses, so I wanted to seek out the Arbitration Council to return justice to me. The contract that the Fearless Alliance and the Direct Line signed was an exclusive contract through the Arbitration Council. By acting this way, the Direct Line breaking faith was minor, but their actions are the same as disrespecting the Arbitration Council. Forget that the Direct Line disrespected the Arbitration Council, but the Direct Line was also disrespecting you, President E. I don't know what you think about this, but if it were me, I wouldn't be able to stand it. Yi Wanwan ended with a shake of her head. If it's as you said, then the direct line is truly gutsy and insolent and has publicly challenged the Arbitration Council's authority, Lingjun said. Yi Wanwan's eyes sparkled, and her head bobbed like a chick pecking at grains. That's right, exactly. They're too gutsy and insolent. They're utterly lawless and must be given a punishment so that they can serve as a warning to others. Amen. Lingjun smiled faintly. Then what do you think is an appropriate way for the Arbitration Council to handle this matter? That's up to you, President E. I wouldn't dare to overstep. I suggest having the direct line provide compensation for 10 times the Fearless Alliance's losses. As long as the direct line agrees to this compensation, the Fearless Alliance isn't unreasonable and is willing to let things be resolved like that. Yi Wanwan responded with a smile. Visit website, our list novel. Well, Lingjun stared at Yi Wanwan. Miss Nya, a mere verbal statement isn't a guarantee. What evidence do you have to prove you're telling the truth? After all, the Arbitration Council can't merely listen to your side of the story. I have it. Of course I do. Yi Wanwan hastily pulled out the alliance treaty agreement that she carried everywhere and handed it to Lingjun. President, look, this is the contract I signed with the direct line back then. Every term is written clearly on paper, and there are even handprints. Yi Wanwan seriously pointed at the 2 handprints. Lingjun picked up the contract and examined it for a moment before nodding. Indeed, this is the contract the Arbitration Council distributed to every state, and this is also the original document. So, President, about what I just said? Yi Wanwan's lips stretched into a big smile. What did you say? Lingjun asked in confusion. Having the direct line compensate for 10 times the Fearless Alliance's damage. How did you forget? Yi Wanwan asked. That won't do. Lingjun shook his head. Yi Wanwan furrowed her brows. Is that too much? All right, I also think we're demanding an exorbitant price. How about 8 times? Never mind. I'll take President E into consideration and ask for 6 times. That also won't work, Lingjun said. Yi Wanwan's eyes turned. President, look, I came to Tinshui City in great haste this time and didn't bring you any greeting gift. How about this? Make the direct line compensate for 6 times my losses, and you can take 30%. President, not bad. You're a promising student. Lingjun nodded lightly. Yi Wanwan secretly curled her lips. She thought the president of the Arbitration Council was very noble and virtuous. But turned out he was this kind of president. Although I'm very tempted, you, unfortunately, don't have any evidence. So how should I make the direct line compensate you? Miss Nya? Lingjun sighed. We aren't. Close. Yi Wanwan was startled. There is. Aren't you holding the evidence? It's written clearly, and there are handprints. Oh. Lingjun reflexively surveyed the contract and chuckled. I'm old indeed. Look at my memory. Then, in front of Yi Wanwan, Lingjun shredded the contract into pieces and tossed it into a nearby trash can. Oh, look at this. Now there isn't any evidence, right? Lingjun questioned the dumbstruck Yi Wanwan. When Yi Wanwan broke out of her stupor, she turned to Lingjun, her eyes turning scarlet. Fuck his grandma. What kind of bullshit president of the Arbitration Council was he? He actually shredded the alliance treaty between the Fearless Alliance and the Direct Line. This was a barefaced cover-up. This was a crime. This was wretched and shameless. Freaking. What he shredded wasn't a piece of paper. It was money, her money. I'll kill you. Yi Wanwan acted like a ferocious beast whose meal was stolen from her, and she rolled up her sleeves, about to fight to the death with Lingjun. However, before Yi Wanwan could attack, the door was pushed open from outside with a squeak. The newcomer was a stunningly beautiful woman dressed in red. Her figure was as curvy as a snake, and her eyes were seductive. Her ink-dark hair was pulled up, and a bewitching smile was on her face. She was akin to a soul-sucking succubus. Junior sister? When the woman saw Yi Wanwan, she was obviously shocked. Sister Medusa? When Yi Wanwan saw the woman, she was dumbfounded. Medusa was a resident of Tianxue City and one of Yi Lianjue's genius disciples. She also possessed an illustrious family background in Tianxue City. Back then, Yi Wanwan was as close as a real sister to Medusa. Yi Wanwan never imagined she would see Medusa here. My God! Medusa sprinted forward and threw her arms around Yi Wanwan. Junior sister, senior sister missed you a lot. Before Yi Wanwan could regain her wits, Medusa released Yi Wanwan and turned to Yi Lingjun. Master, why didn't you tell me you found junior sister? Read more chapters at List Novel. Comma, Master? Following Medusa's words, Yi Wanwan froze in her spot, staring at Yi Lingjun in astonishment. Freaking! Yi Lingjun, the great president Yi of the Arbitration Council, is actually Yi Lianjue? At this moment and situation, Yi Wanwan wished nothing more than to smash her head against the wall and end herself. This was too freaking embarrassing. She should have known. Yi Lingjun looked identical to that silver-haired man from China, and that silver-haired man was most likely Yi Lianjue. However, Yi Lingjuan's temperament was seriously too immortal and too saintly. He couldn't be compared to Yi Lianjue, whom Yi Wanwan interacted with. They were as different as night and day. Even though Yi Lingjun looked identical to the silver-haired man from China, it had to be said that Yi Lingjuan's aura completely masked his appearance. When she interacted with him, it was impossible to imagine Yi Lingjun was actually the old devil. Yi Lianjue? I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. She isn't close to us, Yi Lianjue responded with a chortle as he shook his head. Yi Wanwan, Master, what's going on? Medusa wore a strange and bewildered expression. Yi Wanwan strode toward Yi Lingjun with an embarrassed smile on her face. Seriously, why didn't you tell me earlier? You acted too realistically and flawlessly. I really thought it was two different people. Medusa was exasperated as she watched Yi Wanwan and Yi Lingjun. She figured out the basics of what had happened. However, it was expected that Yi Wanwan didn't recognize Yi Lianjue, since every time Yi Lianjue appeared, he didn't show his true appearance. Miss Nya, we aren't close. Yi Lingjun glanced at Yi Wanwan. Fortune I cultivated through 10 lives misunderstanding. It was all a misunderstanding. Yi Wanwan laughed dryly. Don't. How could there be a misunderstanding? Didn't you say earlier that one is marked by the company one keeps? I'm that bad company, Yi Lingjun said. The other stuff is fine, but it's not me who said that sentence. It was you. Yi Wanwan glowered. It was clearly he who said, one is marked by the company one keeps earlier, but now he actually shoved the blame onto her. Yep, he was Yi Lianjue indeed. You also said that you weren't familiar with me and your senior sister Medusa and couldn't even recall our names, Yi Lingjun said. Yi Wanwan's lips twitched. This freaking old devil. When did I mention Sister Medusa? This old devil's talent at driving a wedge between people is highly proficient now. I said I couldn't recall your name. When did I mention Sister Medusa? Huh? Yi Wanwan fumed with rage between gritted teeth. See, you've admitted it. Medusa, look at her, listen to her. This is your ungrateful junior sister. Now that she's all capable, she won't acknowledge us and thinks we're shameful. Yi Lingjun shook his head with a sigh. Medusa was exasperated. Master, junior sister probably doesn't mean that. How could she not mean that? She admitted it herself. Didn't you hear it? Yi Lingjun snorted. As Yi Wanwan watched Yi Lingjun switch into his Yi Lianjue persona and display his perfected skill of infuriating people to death, she was incensed. She took a deep breath before snorting and agreeing. You're right. I'm not close to that old freak and old devil, Yi Lianjue. So what? Yi Lingjuan's expression stiffened immediately, and he pointed at her with trembling fingers, agony and heartbreak written all over his expression. You, little worryless. How could you be so heartless? It's true. It's really true that every woman in this world is heartless. As Yi Lingjun said that, his eyes reddened as if tears would roll down his face any second. Yi Wanwan was at a loss for words. On the side, senior sister kept giving her looks and told her to not lower herself to Yi Lianjue's level. Yuan had no choice but to clear her throat before saying, "Please, your acting is so flawless, and I had no clue you and Ling Jun were the same person. Rumors claimed you were arch-enemies with Ling Jun, so if I told Ling Jun I was very close to you, what if he held me hostage in order to capture you? Wouldn't you be in danger then?" Lianjue secretly peeked at her. "Do you really think that?" "Of course. What else could it be?" Lianjue said. "But you said I was an old freak and an old devil." "So what? I like old freaks and I like old devils, all right. But you said you didn't even recall my name." "That's because I was trying to fool Ling Jun and protect your safety, Master. During all these years I've been separated from you. Master, I've missed you every day and was deeply worried about you. Every day, I'd recall all the things you meticulously taught me and lamented about how there's no one else in the world who is as handsome and otherworldly and unrestrained by society like you, Master. Being able to have been taught by Master is a fortune I cultivated through 10 lifetimes." Yuan rattled everything off in one go without even taking a breather. Lianjue's reddened eyes immediately sparkled, and he became elated with success. "I knew it. I knew that my little worryless was the person who understood me the best in this world." She didn't know whether she knew him the best or not, but she was probably the person who brown-nosed the smoothest. "This is gold-spun soft armor, right?" After placating Lianjue, Yuan stared at his face incredulously. Could it be you impersonated Ling Jun? But that didn't seem right. How could anyone casually impersonate the president of the Arbitration Council? Medusa chuckled and said, "How could that have happened? Master's real identity is the head of the E-clan to begin with." Yuan was stunned by this truth. Yuan muttered, How is that possible? These two people were clearly absolute opposites from identity to status to demeanor to personality. But they were the same person? Lianjue responded matter-of-factly. "Yeah, when you're in Jianghu, who doesn't have a few disguises for protection? Little worryless. Master taught you this back then, and you really did fully embrace Master's teachings." Yuan, she admitted that she really did have a lot of disguises, but isn't this disguise too frightening? Is this a disguise? This is some freaking gold-spun soft armor, right? Yuan couldn't resist roasting him. Lianjue sighed. Good disciple. Don't blame Master. Master knows you admire Master the most. Master was merely afraid you'd dislike and avoid Master if you found out Master's true identity. Yuan, she actually had nothing to refute him. Who told her to say that she liked old freaks and old devils? As Lianjue spoke, he mockingly glanced at Yuan. "Master originally planned to go to Yun City to find you. I didn't expect you to be so unable to restrain yourself and secretly come to Tianshui City." "What? You heard that lad's rumor and couldn't sit still?" Jabbed where it hurt, Yuan's expression stiffened. "Nonsense. No way. Am I the kind of woman who gets jealous easily? Huh?" Lianjue nodded several times. "Not bad. It was worth enduring all kinds of hardships to raise you to adulthood." Yuan instantly detected something was amiss. "Hey, since when did you raise me to adulthood? Read more chapters at List Novel. Come and endure all kinds of hardships. The meaning is about the same anyway." Lianjue retorted. "It's very different, all right?" Lianjue suddenly looked outside the window toward the main entrance. "Hey, little worryless. Guess what I see? Isn't that your sweetheart?" "What? Where? You're seeing things, right?" As Yuan grumbled that, she followed Lianjue's line of sight and really saw Si Yihan standing at the main entrance. "Oh, my little worryless. I think the girl next to your sweetheart is Qin Zong's daughter. TSK. From far away, those two seriously look like a perfect couple. I think it's possible that the rumors are really true." Lianjue's tone couldn't be any more infuriating. At the courtyard entrance, Si Yihan really was standing shoulder to shoulder with Qin Shiyuan. Qin Shiyuan wore a smile and seemed to be saying something to Si Yihan. Yuan calmly replied, "We just happened to visit you at the same time and run into each other. It's very normal. Hylianjue said, even if they ran into each other, they don't have to act so intimately, right? Yi Wanwan was expressionless. How are they intimate? Master, there's a problem with your eyesight. They look like they're talking happily. It's one-sided happiness from that woman. All right? My baby is ignoring her. After several rounds of probing, Hylianjue saw that Yi Wanwan was acting calm and steady indeed, and he expressed his satisfaction. Not bad, not bad. My disciple is truly big-hearted and is far superior to those easily jealous girls. Aren't you latching onto this thick thigh? Outside, Si Yihin appeared to stop listening to Qin Shiyuan and enter the courtyard. At this moment, Qin Shiyuan suddenly extended her hand and grabbed Si Yihin's wrist. A loud bang abruptly resounded the next second, and Hylianjue watched Yi Wanwan shatter the table between him and Yi Wanwan with a slap from that slender hand. Damn, how dare you touch my man? I'll fuck you up. After slapping the table, she drew her tang backsword from her waist with a swish and slashed downward, leaving a deep crack on the floor. Hylianjue, Medusa, where was the supposed calmness? Where was the supposed steadiness? Medusa coughed lightly and wiped the sweat from her forehead. As expected, little junior sister was still little junior sister and hadn't changed a single bit. Medusa thought her personality actually changed too. Yi Wanwan was about to charge outside with the backsword on her shoulder when she was clutched by the neck like a chick by Hylianjue. Stop right there and calm down. You'll lower my level too much if you charge out like this. Yi Wanwan was rendered speechless. What did her charging out have to do with lowering his level? Ding! An email suddenly arrived on Yi Wanwan's phone, and she casually clicked it open, only to see the contents being several photos. The location of the photos was actually Yi Lingjuan's front entrance and featured Si Yihin and Qin Shiyuan standing side by side. Due to the positioning and angle, the two of them did look very intimate indeed. There was even a photo of the duo holding hands. If Yi Wanwan hadn't personally witnessed Qin Shiyuan one-sidedly talking to Si Yihin just now, she would have also been deceived by these photos. Hylianjue leaned close and glanced at the email Yi Wanwan received. He raised his eyebrows and said, Miss Qin is clearly trying to steal your man. This is an outright provocation. I'm not blind yet, Yi Wanwan retorted. Of course she knew that. Hylianjue pointedly said, moreover, she's coming on menacingly and looks like she's determined to win. However, Qin Shiyuan does have the right to be arrogant since countless men have pursued her in the independent state. For example, there's the adopted brother who's competing for the position of family head with your man, Inhong. He's also trying to gain Qin Shiyuan's favor with everything he has. All right, she should be a candidate for the best daughter-in-law of all the renowned families. For what I know, Yin Yuerong couldn't be more satisfied with her. It had to be said that Hylianjue spoke the truth, especially the last part. That was currently the trickiest problem for her and Si Yihin. Master, just what are you trying to say? This chapter is scrapped from Read Light Novel. Orc Hylianjue blinked, his face glowing as he expectantly said, Ah, little worryless, didn't you say that you respected your grandpa very much and couldn't only acknowledge me as your master? Since it's like that, Master won't force you, and Master will take a step back. You can be my daughter. Yi Wanwan looked at Hylianjue's seemingly reluctant expression. Her face darkened. Are you dreaming? Hylianjue looked hurt and exaggeratedly clutched his chest. Little worryless, how could you say that? Don't you want to be my daughter? Yi Wanwan glanced at him wordlessly, simply unable to connect him with a martial arts master, Yi Lingjun. If you want a daughter, don't you know to find a woman to birth one for you? Hylianjue looked disgusted. Women are too troublesome. You deserve to be single. Yi Wanwan didn't know where to even begin to roast him. So you want a ready-made one. Is that it? Simply wishful thinking. Hylianjue sighed. But even if I found a woman to birth one for me, she wouldn't be able to birth someone as cute and likable as you. Little worryless. Yi Wanwan's lips twitched. Don't try this with me. Hylianjue narrowed his eyes and temptingly said, Don't you want to latch onto this thick thigh of mine? Master is the president of the Arbitration Council. Think about it. If you agree, you'll be the daughter of the Arbitration Council's president. Just a little selfishness, as Lianjue said that latch on fast, latch one fast was written all over his face. Do you think that's possible? Yi Wanwan was exasperated. Lianjue seriously acted based on his impulses. Who in the independent state didn't know her identity? Who didn't know Lingjun didn't have a daughter? How could she have suddenly become the daughter of the Arbitration Council's president? With father here, nothing is impossible. If I, Lingjun, said you were my daughter, who in the independent state would dare to doubt it? Yi Wanwan, father? She still hadn't agreed yet, all right? Wasn't he changing his term of address a bit too fast? However, Lianjue was right. Lingjun was the equivalent of a saint in the hearts of the independent state's residents. No one would doubt his words. No matter how Yi Wanwan thought about it, she still thought Lianjue's suggestion was too absurd. Enough talking for now. Don't tell anybody I was here. After Lianjue's interruption, Yi Wanwan calmed down and quickly hid in the back before Siyin entered. Little worryless. Hey, think about it some more. Lianjue resentfully glanced at Yi Wanwan's disappearing figure. At this moment, a servant came to report that Siyin was visiting. Only then did Lianjue immediately switch into Lingjun mode. Qin Shiyuan clearly came with Siyin, but she didn't come in. Of course, she might have only come to intentionally have a chance encounter with Siyin, then send those suggestive photos to Yi Wanwan to provoke conflict. Her objective had already been achieved. The servants didn't have time to clean up the living room before Siyin entered, so he immediately saw the shattered table inside, as well as the deep crack on the floor. Siyin. Lingjun wore an unfathomable expression as he calmly said, I had a little spar with my little disciple just now and didn't have time to clean up. Apologies, apologies. Siyin glanced at Medusa and naturally thought she was the little disciple Lingjun referred to. You're too polite. It's fine, Siyin replied. As Medusa covertly evaluated this man, whose stunning looks made people unable to look away, she hurriedly ordered the servants to tidy up the living room and move a new tea table inside before retreating. Read more chapters at List Novel. Come, please sit, Director C. Lingjun invited. He was the embodiment of a learned scholar and great master without a trace of abnormality in his expression. When Yi Wanwan, who was hidden in the back, saw Lingjuan's ability to change his face so fast, she seriously suspected whether he had split personalities or not. Siyin nodded and sat down across from Lingjun. I originally shouldn't have rudely disturbed you after you returned fatigued from your long trip, President Yi. But the summit is imminent, and there's a matter I must discuss with you as soon as possible. Lingjun raised her brows. Oh, what are you talking about, Director C? Siyin didn't beat about the bush and frankly handed over the document bag containing the new amendment he prepared the past few days. Lingjun glanced at Siyin before accepting the thick documents. After skimming the documents, Lingjun understood Siyin's intention for coming today. You must have spent a lot of energy preparing this, right, Director C? As they say, each new generation surpasses the previous one. You might be young, but you already hold dear the well-being of the people close to your heart. The rising generation is truly a force to be reckoned with. Siyin seemed to have thought of something in his face, which had been cold and rigid since he stepped through the door, softened a few degrees. You're praising me too much, President. I don't dare to claim credit for myself. I didn't do it for the independent state. It was merely just a little selfishness on my part. Lingjun imperceptibly glanced at Yi Wanwan's hiding place before asking, Oh, selfishness? Not doing it for the people, only doing it for one person behind the reception pavilion. Medusa elbowed Yi Wanwan and teased, You're the reason behind Director C's selfishness, right? Yi Wanwan stared at the man in front of her and couldn't help but recall what Lianjue said earlier. Everyone was pursuing power, but this man seemed to lack any personal desire of his own and always solely lived for her. Medusa lowered her voice and warned her. However, worryless, You can't trust him too much. No man can resist the temptation of power. If they can resist it, it's merely because the temptation isn't big enough. If Master really had a daughter and wanted to marry her to him, do you think he'd still be indifferent? Ling Jun smiled. It appears Director C isn't doing it for the people and only doing it for one person. Yes, Cian replied. Young people are rather honest, but you should know that the probability of me supporting you would be higher if you said it was for the independent state. Ling Jun said insinuatingly. I believe that you should value the result more, President. My original intentions aren't important. His original intentions might not be important to other people, but it was very important to him. Ling Jun swirled the tea leaves in his cup with the lid before abruptly switching the topic. There's actually another reason I rushed back to Tianshui City this time. Si Yihan expressed his puzzlement and listened attentively. May I ask what reason that was, President? Ling Jun released a long sigh before announcing. I found my long-lost daughter. PFFFFF behind the reception pavilion. Yuanwan was listening to senior sister and nearly choked when she heard Ling Jun's sentence. Read more chapters at List Novel. Calm, what the heck was this old devil saying? However, what followed was more exasperating. Si Yihan was also evidently astonished at hearing that. You have a daughter, President? Everyone in the independent state knew that Ling Jun was unmarried and didn't have children. Ling Jun looked proud. That's right. Of course I have a daughter, and she's a very adorable and beautiful girl. Every parent in the world would think their child was the best, and Ling Jun appeared to be no exception. Hence, when Si Yihan heard this, he didn't find anything wrong with it. Congratulations are in order then, President. Ling Jun closely observed Si Yihan's reaction as he continued with endless sighs. Unfortunately, this girl's standards are too high and hasn't taken a fancy to anyone. As a father, what I want to see the most is her finding an ideal husband. Regarding her marriage, I've simply been wretched by anxiety. Si Yihan inexplicably felt something was wrong with the direction of this topic. His astuteness told him that Ling Jun was purposefully saying these words to him, but he didn't feel like Ling Jun was this kind of master who would do something like this. Hence, Si Yihan fell into silence for a moment before emptily replying, Fate merely hasn't come yet. You don't need to be so worried, President. A sharp glint flickered through Ling Jun's eyes before he bluntly said, Seeing Director C today has made an impression on me. You're outstanding and capable. Your thoughts are open and frank, and your appearance must be liked by girls. That daughter of mine is like good-looking people since she was born. At this point, Ling Jun's meaning was very obvious. So much so that Si Yihan turned completely quiet. Ling Jun actually wanted to matchmake his daughter with him. Can fairly compete. May I ask if Director C is willing to meet with my daughter? Ling Jun asked. He already went this far in his words, so Si Yihan had no way of dodging. Ling Jun was considered a virtuous and prestigious person in the independent state, and was also a senior that Si Yihan greatly admired. Since Ling Jun said this to him out of love for his own daughter, Si Yihan couldn't brush him off too harshly. Hence, after considering for a moment, Si Yihan responded, Thank you for your high regard, President. With someone like you as her father, the daughter must be a very outstanding woman. Unfortunately, I have a fiancé already. Although Si Yihan's words were tactful, his tone was very resolute. Ling Jun chuckled and uncaringly said, Since she's just a fiancé, that means you're unmarried still. Furthermore, regarding this supposed engagement, I heard that the Nye family and the Si family haven't concretely agreed to an engagement yet. No? Si Yihan furrowed his brows, but unfortunately, Ling Jun spoke the truth. Forget about his mother. On Wanwan's side, her parents also didn't approve of him and hadn't relented. Only Grandpa agreed to their marriage. Ling Jun watched Si Yihan's expression as he continued. Since it's like that, you two are merely lovers. So forgive me for being blunt, but they can compete fairly, no? Behind the living room, the corners of Wanwan's lips kept twitching. Fair competition, your ass. You're clearly using your position as the president to force someone, all right? This is a competition of dads. Si Yihin smiled faintly, his expression composed as he said, "Apologies, President. To me, fair competition doesn't exist since no one can compare to her." Behind the living room, Medusa watched this man who remained neither servile nor arrogant when faced with Master's temptation and started to admire him. "Wow, little junior sister, your taste in men seems to be quite decent. Master went this far already, but he still isn't tempted? That's quite a feat already. You must be happy." Although Si Yihin resisted the temptation, it still didn't completely extinguish the fury inside Yuanwan. What's there to be happy about, huh? Qin Shiyuan actually managed to touch his hand. She touched his hand. She touched his hand. She touched his hand. Yuanwan grumbled on endless repeat. After Medusa figured out what Yuanwan was muttering, she was exasperated. "You're still hung up about that? What day and age is it?" She merely touched his hand. She touched his hand. And it's just merely, she touched his hand. Yuanwan's voice nearly leaped an octave, but she thankfully managed to restrain herself partway through. Medusa cleared her throat. "But he's a man, so being touched a bit should be fine, right?" Yuanwan ferociously glared at her. "Of course it's not fine. No one is allowed to touch anyone that's mine, not even the tip of his finger." Medusa. "So, everything earlier was a pretense, right? This right now is the real you, Yuanwan. Inside the living room, huh? He actually didn't get tricked." Lingjun never expected this young man to be so tricky. His eyes glinted as he meaningfully said, "Young man, you should never say things too resolutely." Si Yihin never expected the direction of today's conversation to take this turn, so he could only hastily drag the reins back. "President, about the bill." Lingjun set down the files and pinched his brows, feigning exhaustion. "Sigh. I've truly expended too much energy on my precious daughter's future marriage recently. Leave these documents behind, and I'll take a look at them when I'm free." Yuanwan was so angry that she nearly charged out. Temptation didn't work, so he's resorting to threats now. Huh? Could he be any more shameless? Si Yihin furrowed his brows minutely. Judging from Lingjuan's attitude, he knew there probably wouldn't be any outcome today. Hence, he could only stand up and say, "Please rest then. This junior will visit again another day." Lingjun glanced at Si Yihin's wrist, which was covered by his sleeve, from the corner of his eye before standing up to see Si Yihin off. After Si Yihin left, Yuanwan immediately leaped out from the reception pavilion. "Old monster, what nonsense are you spouting?" Lingjun calmly and unruffledly sat down by the new tea table. When did father spout nonsense? Father was handing him an olive branch. Otherwise, he's going to be in trouble. What do you mean? Yuanwan frowned. "Do you think that girl from the Qin family is someone to be trifled with and will permit a man to reject and humiliate her time and time again?" Lingjun looked at Yuanwan. "Your man is about to be in deep trouble, and only you, my good daughter, can help him." At the same time, at the Qin residence, when Qin Shiyuan returned, her face was extremely dark, and her trailing female servant had her head bowed, not daring to even breathe loudly. No one had ever treated her miss like this. Qin Zong walked downstairs and saw how his daughter was cheerful when she left, but returned in a bad mood. He hastily inquired, Yuan, what happened? Who caused your unhappiness?" Read more chapters at List Novel. Calm before Qin Shiyuan could respond, the servant spoke up. "Who else but that Director C? He seriously went too far and was ungrateful of the courtesy Miss extended him." "Si Yihin?" Qin Zong frowned. "What happened?" The female servant explained. "Director C is a condescending jerk who considers our miss beneath him and continues to reject our miss in every manner possible. If he's playing hard to get, he should have a limit, but actually, what did he do?" Qin Zong asked gloweringly. The female servant stomped her feet in anger. "Today, Miss merely touched his hand, but he actually wiped his hand with an alcoholic wipe on the spot, and also humiliated Miss." "Enough. Shut up." Qin Shiyuan angrily rebuked, interrupting the female servant. She had never been humiliated in this fashion in all her life. She lowered herself graciously to approach a man, but he actually humiliated her again and again because of a cheap tramp. How dare he? Qin Zong was infuriated instantly. Who permitted him to humiliate my daughter like this? Qin Zong then quickly comforted his daughter. Yuan, don't worry. Father will definitely pay him back for his impertinence. But Auntie Yin Yurong is no one to fear. Anyway, she abandoned this son a long time ago. You were originally that boy's sole opportunity to make a comeback, but he didn't treasure it. He's seriously idiotic. A man like him isn't worthy of my daughter. Qin Zong menacingly continued. Whether he's a biological son or not isn't important. What's important is your choice, Yuan. I'll give everything to whoever can win your favor. Father, I want to make him pay and wallow in regret. Qin Shiyuan clenched her fists and immediately ordered her servant. You, go and set up a meeting with Yin Heng. Tell him I have something to discuss with him. Since this man was so impertinent, she would give everything that belonged to him to his archenemy. She refused to believe he still wouldn't bend the knee when he lost everything. She would definitely make him beg for her forgiveness on his knees. At a French restaurant in Tianshui City, Yin Heng was neither early nor late and arrived 5 minutes ahead of the agreed time. He elegantly sat down on a seat by the window with the posture of a noble young master. About an hour later, Qin Shiyuan finally arrived. However, Yin Heng didn't display any irritation. When he saw Qin Shiyuan, his eyes brightened, and he quickly stood up to pull back the seat across from him out for her and handed her a bouquet of fresh roses. Qin Shiyuan accepted the roses and glanced at them before setting them aside. Thanks. Yin Heng furtively probed. What happened? Why do you appear to be unhappy, Miss Qin? Qin Shiyuan's lips curled up in a sneer. Nothing. I just ran into a disobedient dog. Yin Heng's eyes shifted, joy flickering through them. It appeared Si Yihan lost her favor. He originally employed every method he could, but Qin Shiyuan was disdainful and chased after Si Yihan instead. Since she was Qin Shiyuan, the daughter of the Arbitration Council's Vice President Qin, he didn't dare to use any special methods. Otherwise, if he offended the Qin family, he'd be doomed. While he was at his wit's end, he never expected Qin Shiyuan to contact him of her own volition. Yin Heng smiled faintly. Not only is that dog disobedient, but he also appears to be a blind dog to have provoked the rage of a beautiful woman like you, Miss Qin. Read more chapters at List Novel. Calm Qin Shiyuan peered up at him, her mood easing due to his honeyed words. Evidently, Yin Heng's fawning attitude wholly fulfilled her vanity, which was damaged after Si Yihan's blow. This is how men should treat me. I heard Annie has intentions to pass on the Yin family to you. Qin Shiyuan asked aloofly. Yin Heng bitterly smiled. Mother does have those intentions indeed, but Qin Shiyuan asked, but what? Yin Heng's expression fell as he said, but now that Si Yihan has returned to Tianshui City, he's mother's biological son. After all, no matter how well I perform, he's the one mother has been most satisfied with all along. Qin Shiyuan snorted. So what? Whether you're biological or not isn't that important. Yin Heng's eyes flickered. What do you mean, Miss Qin? Qin Shiyuan nonchalantly said, attend the banquet the night after tomorrow with me. Yin Heng was startled. Miss Qin is talking about the opening ceremony for the summit. There was an opening ceremony that occurred before the summit every year. After the opening ceremony ended, a banquet would be held that night, and the attendees solely consisted of the directors and the higher-ups of the Arbitration Council. Qin Shiyuan actually wanted him to be her male companion in this kind of setting. This was representative of extremely high regard from her and monumental for him. Qin Shiyuan raised her brows. What? You aren't unwilling. Yin Heng suppressed the mad joy in his heart and answered with a refined and gentle expression. Impossible. It's my honor to have been invited by Miss Qin. Qin Shiyuan was finally satisfied and raised her glass. Ah, Mr. Yin truly is clever. Cheers! Cheers! After dinner was over, Hung personally drove Qin Shiyuan back to the Qin residence before driving back to the Yin residence. When he arrived home, Hung sought out Yuerong immediately. "Mother." Yuerong expressionlessly looked up. "It's so late. Do you need something?" Hung replied, "Tonight, Miss Qin asked to meet with me." Yuerong's expression remained unchanged. "Is that so?" Hung continued. "Miss Qin invited me to attend the banquet with her in 2 nights." Yuerong peered up at him again and didn't seem the slightest bit surprised. "Is that so? All the people attending will be higher-ups from the Arbitration Council, so it will be a very good opportunity. You need to present yourself well. I'll have someone prepare an appropriate outfit for you later." Gratitude brimmed from Heng's face. "Thank you, Mother." Yuerong nodded with satisfaction. "Go on then. Get along well with Miss Qin." Hung revealed hints of bashfulness as he humbly said, "Miss Qin and I haven't progressed to that step yet." Yuerong said, "Since she's invited you to attend the opening banquet, it means she has favorable feelings toward you already." Hung naturally knew that. He was merely intentionally concealing his edges. He asked Yuerong what to be conscientious of at the banquet before finally leaving. After Hung left, the elderly female housekeeper walked out from the back. Wasn't Mississippi Qin close with young master several days ago? Why is she suddenly with Hung now, even inviting him to attend such an important banquet?" The housekeeper was perplexed. Yuerong snorted. "Why else? What else could it be aside from that woman? He's simply wrecking his own future and absolutely idiotic." The housekeeper sighed. "Young master is a rather romantically devoted person." Yuerong snorted. "Romantically devoted? He'll eventually regret it." The housekeeper remembered something and hesitantly inquired, "Oh, right. I prepared the people you wanted me to find earlier. I searched throughout the entire 12 independent states and found 3 girls. They're all top-notch beauties. Do you want me to send them to young master right now?" Yuerong replied, Send them, of course. If he doesn't like them, then keep searching and sending more. That child, Agio, is merely too naive in romantic affairs and has seen too few women, so he's been fooled and charmed by that woman." Mockery was written all over Yuerong's face as she continued. "Back then, didn't Si Huaizhang claim he was solely in love with that woman? What happened in the end? He still spends his days drinking, seeking pleasure, and loving every new woman he meets." The housekeeper wanted to say something else at first, but bit back her words upon hearing that, and could only reply, "Yes, I'll send them now." At this moment, at a manor in Tianshui City, Lianjue was weeping and threatening to hang himself. "Sai, I'm so sad. Even if you become the daughter of the president, you still don't like me. What's the point of me being the president, huh? I'd be better off resigning and returning home." "Wah, little worryless. I'm telling you, that woman, Yuerong, is a psycho. She definitely won't spare you for destroying her most perfect creation. You'll definitely regret not becoming my daughter." Little worryless, to avoid being nagged to death by Lianjue, Yuanwan hastily escaped from the manor. When Big Dipper saw Yuanwan, he immediately dashed forward. "Sis Feng, you're finally back. I was worried to death. If you were still nowhere to be seen, I would have raided the president's manor." Fu Mingxi also hurriedly demanded, "Sis Feng, why in the world did the Arbitration Council take you elsewhere?" "They probably wanted to abduct and sell me." Yuanwan replied. He didn't have a daughter, but insisted on abducting her to be his daughter. "Big Dipper, huh?" "Fu Mingxi, what?" Yuanwan cleared her throat. "Just kidding. It was nothing. He just wanted to ask me about the bill amendment." As she spoke, First Elder and Third Elder returned from their scouting mission. President, we're back. What did you discover?" Yuanwan inquired instantly. First Elder took a sip of water before quickly saying, "The ancestral Yin residence is impenetrable as a metal pail, and we truly couldn't enter it. However, we used some alternate methods and scouted quite a bit of information." Third Elder continued, "We saw Hung suddenly going out late at night, so we followed. Guess what we discovered, President?" What? Tell me. Don't leave me hanging. Yuan said. Third elder. We found out Hung actually went to meet up with Qin Shiyuan. Yuan frowned. Do you know what they said? First elder immediately pushed third elder to the side. We specifically found a nearby position. I have good hearing, so I heard some of it. Basically, this dog couple mingled together, and Qin Shiyuan even invited Hung to be her male companion for the banquet in 2 nights. Third elder added, "Tis TSK. That woman is seriously shameless, and actually called Sir Lord Azura a disobedient dog. She's clearly the one who glued herself to him, but Sir Lord Azura ignored her." Is that so? Yuan narrowed her eyes. Lianjue already warned her about this, but she didn't expect things to turn out identical to his prediction, and so quickly at that. Qin Shiyuan sought out Hung as soon as she left, clearly to seek revenge against Si Yihan. Qin Shiyuan thought she could suppress and threaten him, but in reality, Agio didn't care about this kind of thing at all. However, I care. One more thing. First elder began hesitantly. What thing? Yuan asked. First elder coughed lightly. Third elder will tell you. Third elder took a step back. First elder was the one who discovered this piece of news, so first elder will tell you. First elder retorted. How am I the one who discovered it? It was clearly you who suggested going to Lord Azura's residence to scout around. Third elder. Read more chapters at List Novel. Calm upon seeing the two of them shoving each other back and forth again, Yuan drew the Tang backsword from her waist and slapped it on the table with a clang. I'll give you 10 seconds. Tell me together. First elder and third elder instantly replied in sync. We discovered that Yurong sent 3 beautiful women to Lord Azura. Yuan, first elder and third elder. Also, Yurong is having people continue to look. It looks like they're going to keep giving him women until he accepts them. Dead silence pervaded the air. A terrifying aura brewed and billowed around Yuan. First elder and third elder met each other's eyes and started to shiver involuntarily. Big Dipper carelessly said, Yurong merely sent 3 beautiful women to Lord Azura. What great storm hasn't our sis phone gotten through? What's there to fuss about? Minor matter, minor matter. Fu Mingxi also hastily agreed. That's right. The president wouldn't care about this kind of minor. This chapter is scrapped from Read Light Novel. Or before he finished, a terrifying kachak resounded in the air. Big Dipper, Fu Mingxi, first elder, and third elder watched as the glass cup in Yuan's hand shattered like a spider web before turning into dust. Fu Mingxi finished. Minor matter. They instantly huddled in the corner like quails with fearful expressions on their faces. She originally didn't want to use an overly shameless method, but it appeared her previous line of thinking had gone crooked. She should have traversed her own path and bravely acted like herself. Yuan dug out her phone without hesitation and dialed the number Lianjue gave her before she left. Lianjue, hey, little worryless. Yuan, hey, Dad. Lianjue. Yuan had just said Dad when she heard doot doot doot. The sound of the call ending came from the other end. She glanced at her phone in confusion. What's going on? Within 3 seconds, her phone started ringing. It was a call from Senior Sister. Yuan answered the call, bewildered. Hello, Senior Sister? Medusa anxiously asked, Little Junior Sister, what did you say to Master when you called him just now? Nothing much. What happened to him? Yuan was confused. Medusa replied, Master was talking to me on the 2nd floor balcony. When he answered your call, he suddenly dropped the phone off the balcony accidentally, has been frozen in his spot since, and won't answer me no matter what. Yuan. Is that necessary? Medusa asked. Just what in the world did you say, little junior sister? I just said one word. One word? That's impossible. Why would Master be so emotional? One word, Dad. Medusa. After a few seconds of silence, rustling was heard from the other end, as if Senior Sister's phone was snatched away. Quickly after, Lianjue's voice, which sounded so excited like he was about to cry, was heard. Little worryless. WWH, what did you call me just now? You called me Dad? Sasa. Sasa. Did you hear it? My daughter called me Dad. Medusa cleared her throat and promptly followed along and pacified him. Yes, master, I heard it. I did say that Worryless still respected and admired you greatly. So why would she reject your kind notion? Read more chapters at List Novel. Kami Lianjue shouted. Ah, little Worryless. Quickly call me Daddy again. Yuanwan exasperatedly sighed. All right, Dad. Stop yowling, Dad. I have some proper business to discuss with you. Upon hearing her call him Dad twice, Lianjue was simply satisfied and quickly assumed his role. Good daughter, tell me. Yuanwan coughed lightly. Although I don't mind donning another disguise, are you sure someone would believe this kind of bullshit? Although nearly no one in Tianjue City knows me, Yin Yuerong at least knows how I look, right? She's met me before. Also, Qin Shiyuan probably investigated me and knows how I look. Yet, I became your daughter out of nowhere. That doesn't make sense no matter how you look at it, she added. Lianjue replied with excessive confidence. So what if they've seen your face? There are so many people who look similar in this world. So what's there to be shocked about? Anyway, good daughter, you still don't seem to fully understand your daddy's prestige in the 12 independent states. Father told you before that no one would doubt anything I say. When Yuanwan heard this, the idiom calling white black involuntarily popped up in her mind. This idiom wasn't blindly crafted. It was a true story in history. For someone in a superior position, the words you said were the truth no matter how BS they were. Especially for someone with Yi Lingjuan's reputation. No one would believe Yi Lingjun would vehemently abduct a daughter to satisfy his desire simply because he didn't have a daughter himself. Lianjue continued. As for the other stuff, Father has naturally handled it already. Regardless of how they investigated you, there would only be one result. Father has a long-lost daughter, and your father's daughter? Yuanwan simply didn't know what to say anymore. Handled it already? Could it be that this scheme had long been concocted? Anyway, with my good daughter's plastic surgery-like acting skills, what's there to be worried about? Father believes in you. Lianjue didn't forget to praise his daughter. Yuanwan's lips turned up, and she returned the gesture. No, how could I be acting? Dad, this isn't acting. I'm revealing my true feelings. We shared a deep father and daughter bond to begin with. Lianjue was moved to tears and looked incredibly touched. That's right. My good daughter's right. Good daughter, don't worry. You can traipse across the 12 independent states however you want. Forget about stealing a man from someone. Even if you want to start a harem, Father will satisfy you. No need, Dad, Yuanwan replied. Haha, a harem. Don't want to die? Yuanwan made this phone call on the balcony, so Big Dipper, Fu Mingxi, First Elder, and Third Elder only heard Yuanwan call the other person Dad, and thought she was conversing with Patriarch Nya. None of them expected Lianjue to be on the other end of the phone. Lianjue prattled on for eons and didn't forget to remind her, oh right, you better not tell that guy. You should pretend to not know him. If we reveal any flaws, we won't get our desired effect. This is very important. Yuanwan rubbed her chin, thinking, of course I don't want Ajo to find out I secretly came to Tianjue City. Whether he would recognize her or not, she couldn't guarantee it. However, thinking back on it, when Si Yihan pretended to be a stranger as Lord Azura, wasn't she nearly deceived? When she faced Lord Azura back then, she was on the brink of questioning her life. No matter what, her professional acting skills should be stronger than his, right? Moreover, she had the support of the old and cunning Lianjue, so the level of her happily received new disguise wasn't any inferior to Lianjue's gold-spun soft armor. I suddenly feel excited if I hit on Si Yihan as a stranger and, as the president's daughter, how will he react? At this time, in Si Yihan's residence in Tianjue City, Lin Ke finally managed to dismiss the people from the Yin family and the 3 women they brought with them. After taking care of business, Lin Ke reported back to Si Yihan, both mentally and physically exhausted. Damn, I finally kicked them out. Isn't Annie Rong too ruthless? Thank goodness the authority is far away and that girl won't find out about this, or else it'd be tragic. Siyin didn't say anything, but it was very obvious he was also glad about that point. When Lin Kei saw Siyin with a rare, troubled look on his face, Lin Kei furtively asked, "Ninth brother, during today's visit, what was the president's attitude?" Siyin glanced at Lin Kei silently. A moment later, he asked, "President, he has a daughter?" Lin Kei didn't understand the meaning behind Siyin's question and reflexively shook his head. "He doesn't, right? Isn't President E unmarried? That doesn't mean he doesn't have a daughter." Lin Kei turned more dumbfounded. You're right. But why are you suddenly asking this, ninth brother?" Siyin didn't intend to make Lin Kei delve into Lingjuan's private matters. After all, since Lingjun said something like this, it absolutely couldn't be nonsense. Siyin merely found it to be out of left field. Thankfully, Lingjun wasn't Qinzong. Even if he rejected Lingjun today, the other man wouldn't selfishly make things difficult for him with his big heart. However, when Siyin recalled Lingjuan's attitude after he rejected him, he suddenly felt uncertain. Was he truly too preoccupied with his daughter's future marriage, or was he intentionally making things difficult for him? The day of the summit opening ceremony. After the solemn opening ceremony ended, night fell and the banquet officially started. The Arbitration Council was considered at the peak of the 12 independent states' power pyramid. All the higher-ups and members of the Arbitration Council were powerful leaders of their respective states, and furthermore, the current president was the great martial arts master, Lingjun. It could be said that this current Arbitration Council organization was the strongest in history. Hence, it was apparent what an extravaganza this year's summit banquet would be. Of course, what particularly excited all the directors and members wasn't the new president. It was the return of the daughter of the vice president, Qin Zong, the most beautiful woman in Tianshui City, Qin Shiyuan. Moreover, the Qin family had released news that they were choosing a husband for their eldest miss. The Qin residence's main door was nearly destroyed from the trampling horde. Aside from power, what people pursued zealously was none other than beautiful women. What made this even better was that this was a powerful and influential beautiful woman. Everyone knew what marrying Qin Shiyuan represented. Why isn't eldest Miss Qin here yet? Will she come today? Of course she'll come on an occasion like today. Even if she didn't come as Vice President Qin's family member, she herself is a high-ranked legal consultant for the Arbitration Council. Yeah, it's unrelated to you whether eldest Miss comes or not anyway, since eldest Miss's heart belongs to someone else already. The person next to them furtively glanced at Si Yihin in the distance and lowered their voice as they said, "Are you talking about the gossip article published about eldest Miss and director C a few days ago? Read more chapters at List Novel. Exactly. Don't forget what the Qin family controls. If it weren't for the Qin family's tacit approval, why would they have permitted such an article to be published? I also heard it was eldest Miss on the pursuing side." Then doesn't that mean we don't have a chance? It's strange, though. Why did Director C come here by himself today? If things were really as the article said, eldest Miss would definitely be attending with him today, right? You know women. They have to change their clothes and do their makeup. She'll probably arrive soon. Nearby, Qinzong had a wine glass in hand as he conversed with Inuero. Qinzong's face was icy and rather displeased when he saw Inuero. Director In, your son is truly haughty and arrogant. I wonder what respectable family you're discussing marriage with that caused him to look down on even my daughter, Qinzong. Inuero replied, "Vice President Qin, what you're saying is too heavy. There isn't any respectable family. She's merely some wild girl. Miss Qin is as graceful as a phoenix, but my son merely has bad taste." Qinzong snorted. Thank goodness, there's at least one clever person in your family. Inuerong furrowed her brows and glanced at her nearby son. When she saw his composed appearance, fury raged inside of her. For a woman, he was shoving away such a great opportunity. Everyone was occupied by their own thoughts and discussion ran rampant. At this moment, a silvery white luxurious car suddenly stopped at the entrance. Someone sharply recognized it as eldest Miss Chen's car. As everyone waited in anticipation for a beautiful woman to exit the car. To their surprise, the first to come out wasn't Chen Shiyuan. Instead, it was a man. The man first stepped out of the car before courteously pulling open the back door. Isn't that In Hung? That's right. Why did he come out of eldest Miss Chen's car? Soon, the breathtakingly dressed Chen Shiyuan stepped out of the car with the support of In Hung. She naturally looped her arms around In Heng's arm, affectionate in her mannerisms. What's going on? In Hung and Chen Shiyuan? Isn't In Hung In Yuerong's adopted son? Everyone was stupefied. No one expected Chen Shiyuan's male companion today to be In Hung, as the rumors about Chen Shiyuan and Si Yihan were burning furiously just several days ago. What kind of plot development was this? Nearly everyone reflexively turned to look at Si Yihan. It seemed like he was cheated on and abandoned by eldest Mississippi. When faced with everyone's various odd gazes, astonished, sympathetic, etc., Si Yihan remained frosty and snowy without any change in expression, as if he was in a different world. A director standing next to him couldn't help but strike up a conversation with Si Yihan. Director Si, doesn't Miss Chen like you? Why is she with your brother? This is too much. But you don't need to be too sad. The summit would convene tomorrow, so Si Yihan was swiftly mentally editing his proposed Law one last time. He charitably extracted a trace of attention from that and glanced at the other director. Sad. Sigh. Say no more. I get it. Don't be too saddened. The director expressed his understanding and didn't pour any more salt on Si Yihan's supposed wounds. Regardless of who the man was, he wouldn't feel good after having his woman stolen by his brother, especially a woman like this. Miss Chen, you're here. Goddess, you're seriously too beautiful today. After Chen Shiyuan and In Hung entered the hall, everyone returned to their senses and greeted her, their probing gazes trailing to In Hung next to her. At this moment, a director's female companion who was close to Chen Shiyuan asked, Yuan, weren't you with Director Si earlier? How come today? Chen Shiyuan glanced at Si Yihan and saw there wasn't a ripple on his face or any of the jealousy and regret she wanted to see. Her expression darkened. Chen Shiyuan's voice wasn't too loud or too quiet, but was the perfect volume for everyone around her to hear her. Director Si and I? Where did this rumor come from? Apologies, but Director Si and I aren't familiar with each other, and we aren't related in any capacity. I hope nobody will believe in these kinds of irresponsible words anymore. Read more chapters at List Novel. Calm after saying that, Chen Shiyuan turned to In Hung next to her and sweetly said, Let me introduce him to everyone. This is In Hung, my boyfriend. A gentle and doting expression immediately appeared on In Heng's face. The series of shocked and jealous gazes following this announcement caused his vanity to be satisfied like never before. After all these years, he finally completely defeated Si Yihan. Chen Shiyuan actually straightforwardly denied she liked Si Yihan and directly announced her relationship with In Hung. For a man, this was the same as slapping him in public. When the socialite heard this, she looked embarrassed and hastily went along with what Chen Shiyuan said. Oh, so it was all a rumor. Who would wildly spread something like this? It's too disrespectful. She didn't forget to add flatteringly. So you're dating In Hung right now, huh? You're truly a handsome pair. You're two matching. All the other people started congratulating the couple. The men who were previously admiring Si Yihan for being liked by eldest Miss Chen all looked at Si Yihan in a schadenfreude manner. In Yuerong slowly stopped next to Si Yihan. How does it feel? If you express your regret now, perhaps it wouldn't be too late for you to properly beg for Miss Chen's forgiveness. Si Yihan looked aloof. Why does director In think my taste would be so bad that I take a liking to Chen Shiyuan? In Yuerong was nearly infuriated to death. He was disdainful of the daughter of the Arbitration Council's vice president, but liked that wild girl. How could he say that so boldly? Before In Yuerong could say anything else, Si Yihan icily said, Don't let me see a woman appear within 3 feet of my house again. Inuerong didn't expect her son to be so ungrateful of her efforts. You. Good. Great. You even look down on the daughter of the vice president. What a big appetite you have. I like to see how long you can last. Agio, remember what I'm saying today. You'll regret this one day. After saying that, Inuerong angrily stomped away in her high heels. She was utterly disappointed in this son of hers now. On the other side, Qin Xuan was akin to the sun, surrounded by a myriad of planets. Nearly everyone spiraled around her. Today, Qin Xuan wore a beaded, dark blue fishtail gown, giving her a sparkly appearance, and the high-end cut complemented her alluring figure. She was dazzling amidst the crowd, and undoubtedly became the focus of the banquet. In addition, she had the handsome and scholarly Yin Hung standing next to her. The good-looking couple further caught everyone's attention. Miss Qin is seriously too beautiful. No wonder she's the most beautiful woman in Tianshui City. I don't think we can find anyone prettier than our Miss Qin in all of the 12 independent states. Of course, who can compare to Yuan in terms of looks, talent, and family background? I'm seriously jealous of Yin Hung. Yin Hung adoringly looked at Qin Shiyuan and gently said, Yuan is the most beautiful and perfect girl I've ever seen. I consider myself most fortunate for receiving her favor. Several higher-ups grouped together with wine glasses in hand, furiously conversing. I didn't expect that lad, Yin Hung, to have gotten there first. Yin Hung is finally flushed with success tonight. Someone will probably be sad, though, of course, getting his woman stolen by his brother, who wouldn't be hurt if this happened to them. In the corner, Yu Xiao looked at Qin Shiyuan and Yin Hung, his tone serious as he said, I didn't expect Miss Qin to actually get together with Yin Hung. This way, the matter will probably be tricky. He actually didn't agree with Si Yihan's method in private, but it wasn't his place to say anything as Si Yihan's subordinate. Lin Ke scowled. Isn't Qin Shiyuan, that woman, seriously too good at pretending? It was clearly Ninth Brother who didn't take a liking to her. But now, she's making it sound like she was the one who abandoned Ninth Brother. Also, Yin Hung, just look at his triumphant face. Was the director's visit to the president 2 days ago successful? Yu Xiao asked. Lin Ke shook his head. Also don't know what happened there. However, Ninth Brother's attitude was a little strange when he returned. Yu Xiao felt a pounding headache. I said before that Qin Shiyuan was too important. This current situation was extremely disadvantageous for them. On the banquet hall's balcony, Ilianjue was on a call with Yuan. Good daughter, why aren't you here yet? Don't tell me you're going back on your word. Don't blame me for not telling you, but Qin Shiyuan and Yin Hung came together today. They're clearly humiliating your man publicly. Right now, all the ignorant people are gleefully enjoying a good show. On the other end of the phone, Yuan chuckled lightly. It's easy to enjoy a good show. There's a better show coming up. At the same time, inside the dressing room that Medusa prepared for Yuan, all the makeup artists and stylists were rooted in their spots as they stared at the girl in front of them. Yuan gently flicked the bottom of her dress and peered up. Senior sister, is this okay? Only then did Medusa recover from her enormously stunned state. Too okay. My God, little junior sister, I always thought Qin Shiyuan was beautiful enough already, but now I finally know what the saying staring at the sky from the bottom of the well means. Why are you always dressed like a beggar, little junior sister? Aren't you wasting your face too much? Yuan looked at senior sister's sorrowful appearance and sighed. It's mainly because I got used to earning a living with shamelessness and nearly forgot I could earn a living with my face. Medusa. Inside the banquet hall, Yin Hung was elatedly traversing through the crowds of distinguished leaders and figures with Qin Shiyuan. After acting as a good son in the Yin family for so many years and acting as Si Yi's substitute for so many years, this was the first time he felt he could raise his head completely in front of Si Yin. He had never felt this happy. As he walked arm in arm with the beautiful, breathtaking Qin Shiyuan, arm in arm with the most beautiful woman with the most illustrious background in Tianshui City, he could finally stomp Si Yihan under his feet. In Hung purposefully led Qin Shi Yuan to Si Yihan. Eldest brother, Yuan and I are together now. Aren't you going to give us your blessing? Si Yihan had been working intensely these past few days and was nearly exhausted, so he was sitting on a high stool in front of the bar and was supporting his forehead with his hand as he closed his eyes and rested. Upon being disturbed, he slowly peered up. Although he had to look up, his innately superior gaze still made him look like he was staring down at ants, and he exerted a frightening pressure. Lin Ke knew his ninth brother's personality. Si Yihan was disinclined to even spare a look for people he didn't care about. However, In Hung was actually an exception. Lin Ke still remembered the look in his ninth brother's eyes when he learned Annie Rong adopted a son, carefully nurtured this adopted son, and that he could be replaced at any second. It was the look of someone whose last support pillar in the entire world had just crumbled. Regardless of how extreme In Yuerong acted before, ninth brother wasn't as hurt as that moment. Ninth brother didn't care about this guy anymore, but when Lin Ke watched how this guy circled around them like a fly and came running here to brag, he still felt disgusted. Read more chapters at List Novel. Comet took In Hung everything he had to not allow himself to appear weak under Si Yihan's overly formidable aura and keep his wine glass raised. Qin Shi Yuan chuckled lowly. I should salute Director C with a glass first. Director C is truly passionately devoted to Miss Nia. I wish the two of you to live to old age in conjugal bliss. Qin Shi Yuan's mockery was evident. Si Yihan actually rejected her because of the mere worryless Nia. Now that he had to watch her next to his archenemy, In Hung, she didn't believe he could remain unruffled. There were many people glancing at them covertly. This scene was incredibly explosive. Yi Wan, who was standing at the entrance, also watched this scene in its entirety. She previously ordered First Elder and Third Elder to scout out the Yin family situation, so they did discover some things about the Yin family and truthfully told her in detail. Back then, merely because Si Yihan couldn't reach In Yuerong's standards and satisfy her, the woman immediately adopted a son and nurtured him from the beginning. Yi Wan still couldn't figure out how In Yuerong could be so cruel and give up on her son that easily. Even if she didn't understand the situation back then, she could still imagine Si Yihan's emotions when he discovered he was someone who could be replaced at any second to his mother. A figure whom he obeyed unhesitatingly and used everything he could to gain her approval despite her crazed, strict, and heartless demeanor. She knew that everything had passed already. The current Si Yihan wouldn't have a single ripple in his emotions for something like this anymore, judging from his apathetic attitude toward his mother. However, how could she allow these people to tarnish the most perfect and wonderful person to her? At this moment, someone suddenly looked at the entrance and released a quiet exclamation. Wow! So pretty! Soon, more and more exclamations were heard, and the other people all turned to the entrance in confusion. At the end of the golden and resplendent hall, a girl stood there in a retro-style gown. The cuts of the gown were crisp and clean, but the details were extremely opulent. The color and style of this gown were only particularly suited for certain people. The purely hand-embedded pearls and shells dazzlingly glittered under the chandeliers. This was a gown that was eye-catching and luxurious to the point of stealing the thunder of its wearer, but on the girl, it didn't divert a single ray of light from her. The girl's skin was akin to the highest quality white jade, her lips akin to the clouds at sunrise, her hair black as ink. Her shimmering eyes looked like they reflected the vast sky. Even if she did nothing but stand there, she was as blazing and eye-catching as the scorching sun in the height of summer, pervadingly beautiful. In contrast, Qin Shi Yuan's elegant ladylike and socialite demeanor turned her invisible. Qin Shi Yuan naturally turned her attention to the entrance as well. When she saw the newcomer there, her expression shifted. That woman is... In the beginning, Qin Shi Yuan's reaction was instinctive jealousy targeted at this woman's looks. Previously, Qin Shi Yuan had only seen Yi Wan through photos she obtained and never saw the real person. Since the current Yi Wan was too different from her photo self, Qin Shi Yuan didn't recognize her at first. In the end, it was her confident female servant who reminded her, "Miss, isn't that woman worryless Nye? Why is she here?" Qin Shiyuan was startled, and only then did she recognize the woman. Worryless Nye? Most of Worryless Nye's photos were taken secretly in her daily life, and she was dressed slovenly. So Qin Shiyuan couldn't link the woman in the photos to this woman in front of her. As for the other attendees of tonight's banquet, most of them didn't know Yi Wanwan, so their attention was wholly sucked by this strange woman. My God, which family's daughter is she? I don't know. I've never seen her before. Oh my God, what kind of godly good looks are that? She actually outstripped Miss Qin, someone quietly said. Their friend also whispered in agreement. Miss Qin wasn't just outstripped. She was absolutely eclipsed. In Hung was also dumbstruck as he stared at the entrance. As Qin Shiyuan listened to the discussion around her, her sight landed on the girl. After a moment of scrutiny, unconcealed derision and mockery surfaced in her eyes. How interesting. There were so many strays in this world, but these strays had no sense of their own limitations. There were some places that only people who possessed absolute status and power could enter. Yet, someone like Worryless Nye had the courage to attend a banquet of this level and act out a scene of a woman traversing thousands of miles to search for their husband. Qin Shiyuan was very willing to be an audience member and watch this clown's monodrama. In Yuerong's brows locked together as she stared at the girl at the entrance. Worryless Nye? Then she shook her head, confusion entering her expression. This girl might be very similar in looks, but her temperament made her appear to be a completely different person. This girl's temperament didn't belong to an ordinary person. Chapter 23:02 Stealing the Limelight. The girl emitted a haughty aloofness from her bones, as though every living being was rejected from her world and nothing could enter her eyes. This aloofness didn't originate from an indifferent personality. It was as though there wasn't a person or object that she didn't look down on. Of course, this aura made people feel uncomfortable. And In Yuerong had once seen Worryless Nye from Yin City. She couldn't possess this kind of aura. Shit. Ninth brother. Quick, look at the door. What's going on? Isn't that ninth sister? Lin Kei's hand shuddered and half of his red wine spilled out. Only then did human emotion enter Si Yihan's face, and he immediately turned to the entrance. Next to them, Yu Xiao also looked at the entrance in disbelief. That's Miss Nye? Are you sure, Lin Kei? In his memory, whether it was Bro Flat Top or Worryless Nye, they both had the image of a demoness. So how could she be so elegant and graceful, beautiful to the point of intoxicating and bewitching all observers? In front of this girl, Qin Shiyuan, the supposed most beautiful woman of Tianshui City, lost all trace of color and presence. Furthermore, her looks and style of dress were secondary. The most important part was her standoffish aura. Just by standing there, even without using any expressions or body language, she already emanated intense derision for everything from her bones. If it was the president of the 12 Independent States Arbitration Council who possessed this aura, he could understand it, but Worryless Nye? Bullshit. Of course it probably is, right? As Lin Kei looked at the girl's exquisitely beautiful looks and coolly elegant temperament, he suddenly turned uncertain. At this moment, the girl's line of sight swept past them, and Lin Kei accidentally met her eyes. However, the girl's gaze didn't show any hint of recognition, as though Lin Kei was merely a stranger. No, he wasn't even a stranger. He was akin to air. Lin Kei was dumbfounded. She doesn't know me? Damn, what is this, huh? Who is she? How dare she look down on me like this? Lin Kei fumed with rage between gritted teeth. This was too infuriating. Si Yihan frowned lightly. He had met the girl's eyes for a second just now, but her gaze was that of someone looking at a stranger. Wanwan. He had a call with Wanwan just last night, and she was still in Yin City, so she couldn't have appeared here in such a short amount of time. Furthermore, she promised him that she absolutely wouldn't come to Tianshui City. He had also never seen Wanwan wearing such an unfamiliar expression with such a foreign mannerism. It was like she was a different person. In Yuerong didn't act rashly. Qin Xuan hated worryless Nye to her bones, though. Yet that woman actually came here today to steal her limelight, so how could she tolerate it silently? The female servant quickly comforted her. Eldest miss, don't be angry. It's just a vixen with some degree of good looks. How could she compare to you? I'll kick her out right now. How dare she come to today's banquet? She's simply asking for humiliation. Qin Shiyuan's mouth curled up in a smirk. Are you saying that a random stray is worthy of being looked at by me? Eldest miss is right. She's just a stray who could lower the level of this type of event. Immediately, the female servant imperiously marched toward Yi Wanwan. You. The female servant blocked the girl's path and coldly stared at her. You're the second miss of Yun City's Nye family, right? The girl didn't say anything and acted like she didn't see the female servant blocking her path. Miss Nye, I'm very sorry, but this isn't a place someone with your status can enter casually. I think you should first determine the kind of status required to attend an occasion like this. However, the girl stayed put in her spot and treated the female servant as heir, completely disinclined to respond. The female servant sternly said, Miss Nye, I know you're the second miss of Yin City's Nye family, but this isn't a typical banquet. This is a banquet for the Arbitration Council's higher-ups. Normal people are absolutely prohibited from attending. If you're looking for someone, please wait outside until the banquet concludes. If you disturb any of the guests, I'm afraid even the entire Nye family couldn't handle the consequences. The female servant called a security guard over with a wave of her hand as she said, Please leave immediately, Miss Nye. Otherwise, I have no choice but to have someone escort you out. However, an unbelievable scene occurred in the next second. The girl suddenly frowned and lifted her right arm. Before the female servant could react, a ruthless slap landed on her face. Slap! The crisp sound attracted everyone's attention. Qin Shiyuan's expression changed instantly. This stray slapped my servant? Qin Shiyuan's smile deepened. Yi Wanwan truly was a wild girl who had never seen the world, and ignorant people were fearless. Compensation for her slap would probably have to come from the entire Nye family. Nearby, Lin Kei was also jolted in fright. Was that woman mad? You had to look at the master before hitting the dog. Slapping a female servant wasn't a big deal, but this servant was the servant of the Arbitration Council's vice president's daughter. This kind of action in this kind of setting wasn't a personal matter anymore. It was equivalent to Yi Wanwan representing the Nye family and fiercely slapping the vice president of the Arbitration Council on the face. The consequences, had she actually considered them? Why, you bitch? How dare you hit me? The female servant angrily glared at the girl while clutching her face. Annoying. Please get lost, Yi Wanwan said with a hint of irritation as she glanced at the female servant. Security! The female servant screamed. The next second, several formidable security guards appeared and surrounded the girl. However, there wasn't a trace of panic on the girl's face. Instead, she looked more aloof, as if she was watching a joke. Stop! Accompanying this harsh shout was Medusa striding into the hall. What are you doing? Medusa came from a rich and powerful clan in Tianshui City and was also Yi Lingjuan's disciple, so even the higher-ups of the Arbitration Council had to show her some courtesy. When the female servant saw Medusa, she stepped forward to explain at once. Miss Sassy, this woman trespassed on this banquet and also hit me. I'm immediately ordering them to take her away. Medusa coldly repeated, Take her away? She's my friend. Your friend? The female servant immediately turned to Qin Shiyuan, and after obtaining affirmation from Qin Shiyuan to proceed, her smile receded. Miss Sassy, you should know what kind of occasion this is. By slapping me, it's the same as slapping our eldest Miss Qin. It's the same as slapping the vice president. Miss Sassy, I don't think you should be managing this type of minor matter. Also, I think you should instantly break ties with this kind of person. Otherwise, while it'd only be a minor matter if you provoked the vice president, it'd be major if you disgraced President Yi. Medusa laughed and was about to say something when gasps were heard in the crowd. President Yi is here. Hello, Sir President. At this moment, Jun slowly walked down from upstairs in white robes. However, anyone paying close attention would notice his footsteps turning quicker. President. When everyone saw Jun, they were filled with deep veneration and looked at him as if they were gazing at a god. Soon, a person walked forward with a wine glass in hand. He greeted the president with a light chuckle. President, long time no see. The speaker was Vice President Qin. Vice President Qin himself didn't expect President Yi to make a personal appearance at this banquet. Hello, President. When Qin Shiyuan saw Jun, she quickly walked up and greeted him. Jun made a sound in response. When Jun saw Vice President Qin about to say something else, he interrupted with a smile. I mainly came here today to announce and handle something, so please excuse me. Vice President Qin nodded several times in succession. You have to attend to numerous affairs every day, President, so please do as you need. Jun soon walked onto the stage, his eyes sweeping over the room. The banquet hall turned quiet instantly without a decibel of noise. The main purpose of tonight's banquet was entertainment, but I still have to lower everyone's spirits a little. Jun started. Nonsense, President, Vice President Qin said to Jun with a chuckle. Jun nodded. I believe everyone has heard of the incident in Yun City. At the mention of a Yun City incident, everyone was startled. Of course, everyone knew about such a major incident, especially them, the higher-ups of the Arbitration Council. How could they be clueless? I remember Director Yin personally went there to handle this incident. Jun turned to Yin Yuerong. That's indeed the case, President. Yin Yuerong admitted with a nod. The actions of Yun City's martial arts union was very outlandish, but they also serve as a reminder for us to consider whether some of the rules and regulations that have been passed down from ancient times in the independent state are reasonable, and if we need to amend some of them. Jun calmly said. Read more chapters at List Novel. Everyone was shocked. The rules and regulations of the independent state were passed down from their esteemed ancestors. So how could they alter them? President These rules. A higher-up hastily looked at Jun and started speaking. However, Jun merely glanced at the speaking higher-up. I haven't finished speaking. I hope you won't interrupt me a second time. Yes, Jun continued. Some time ago, Director Si Yihan sought me out and called into question some of the rules and regulations, and these questions were mainly concerning their unreasonableness. Si Yihan. Many higher-ups' gazes landed on Si Yihan. Inhung secretly sneered. Si Yihan was seriously gutsy and actually dared to question the independent state's rules and system and brought it up with President Yi. He was simply asking for his own death. It appeared President Yi mainly came here to criticize and perhaps even punish Si Yihan. Yin Yuerong's harsh gaze shot towards Si Yihan. Do you really think that, Director Si? The independent states' rules and system since ancient times have guaranteed the continuity of the independent states. Amending the rules is an utter joke. That's right. Director Si, don't you think you're a bit too brazen? Jun smiled faintly. After reviewing the suggested amendments that Director Si proposed, I wasn't opposed actually, and even found him rather amiable. The higher-ups who were criticizing Si Yihan froze in their spots with dumbstruck expressions. President Yi hadn't come to criticize Si Yihan. Thank you very much, President Yi, Si Yihan responded. It appeared he was thinking too much earlier. Jun wasn't the kind of person who practiced favoritism. All right, I will stop here regarding business matters. I'll leave the specific details to be discussed at the summit table. Of course, aside from this matter, I still have a personal matter to discuss. Jun smiled faintly. It's regarding my daughter. Everyone was astonished. Although President Yi never married and no one heard anything about him having a relationship with any woman, there was always a rumor that Jun had a precious daughter. Nobody took this rumor seriously. Naturally, since a rumor was merely a rumor. Inueron looked at Ling Jun and said, "There was always word on the street that you had a daughter, President Yi, but I never expected it to be true. After all, Ling Jun never married, so no one dared to go to Ling Jun and personally inquire about this kind of rumor. If it was false, wasn't it the same as slapping a label on the president of the Arbitration Council for no reason?" Si Yihin turned pensive. During his visit with Ling Jun mentioned some details about his daughter of his own volition. As for Yi Wanwan, there wasn't any emotion on her face, but judgment filled her internally. If Ling Jun hadn't released this kind of information himself, who could have uncovered his private matters? Ling Jun smiled. "I sent my daughter overseas when she was young, so she grew up and gained some accomplishments abroad. However, we previously had a small conflict and didn't contact each other for many years. Now that our conflict has resolved, we can finally meet again. After all, my daughter can't be far from me and miss me every second when she was thousands of miles away. As her father, I naturally also hope my daughter can return to her homeland and visit me often." Yi Wanwan, this old devil's bullshitting skills were seriously something. "So what you're saying, President," a higher-up turned contemplative. There might not appear to be much to President Yi's words, and it was just trivial small talk on the surface, but that wasn't true. His main point was that he attached great importance to his daughter, and his daughter was accomplished and capable. Praising his own daughter at an occasion like this, and allowing his daughter to make an appearance in such a ceremonious fashion. Could it be that he wanted to let his daughter enter the Arbitration Council and become powerful? Vice President Qin's expression turned rather bad. In the Arbitration Council, Ling Jun was undoubtedly the head and represented absolute power, while he was the deputy. Vice President Qin was only below one person and above millions. If Ling Jun stepped down, he would get the opportunity to become the president. Now, though, Ling Jun suddenly called his daughter back from abroad and said something like this. Even an idiot could tell that Ling Jun wanted to emphatically train his daughter. Could it be that he wanted to allow his daughter to ascend to his position in the future? Although every president was elected by the higher-ups, if Ling Jun was willing, it was entirely possible for him to push his daughter to be elected as the next president with his methods and prestige. After a moment of contemplation, Vice President Qin's expression returned to normal. This was merely his own conjecture and might not be the truth. It was also possible President He merely wanted to announce he had a daughter. Qin Shiyuan looked at Ling Jun and quickly asked, "Sir President actually has a daughter? Then may I ask where his sister? Is she attending tonight's banquet? She must pay attention to President Yi's daughter and befriend her." "Yunma, why aren't you coming over here?" Ling Jun asked as he turned to the girl at the entrance. "Yes, father." The girl expressionlessly walked toward Ling Jun like no one else was present. Everyone's gazes instantly landed on that haughty girl who felt everything was beneath her dignity. When her bone-deep aloofness, disdain, and standoffish aura were paired with her alluring face, she was akin to a saintess who couldn't be violated. She didn't utter a sound, but had already locked everything outside her doors. Qin Shiyuan's shocked gaze landed on the girl. This girl, wasn't she worryless Nya from Yin City's Nya family? How did she become Ling Jun's daughter? Wait, what did President Ling Jun just call her? Yima. Furthermore, she was sent overseas by President Yi since she was young. So how could she be worryless Nya? However, what was the matter with her looks? Qin Shiyuan's servant was dumbstruck in her spot. As she watched the girl walking closer to the stage step by step, a trace of fear appeared on her face. This woman wasn't worryless Nya. She was President Yi's beloved daughter, Yunma. Move! The girl glanced at Qin Shiyuan, intense dislike surfacing in her eyes, but her expression remained bone-chilling. A single word caused him to feel like he had fallen into an ice pit. The dazed Qin Shiyuan was evidently startled. "You're blocking my way," the girl said apathetically. Faced with that tone, which allowed for no objection and incomprehensible aura, Qin Shiyuan actually reflexively yielded for the girl. Read more chapters at list novel. Calm damn. That's impossible, right? She isn't worryless yet? Lin K was stunned as he stared at the icy girl. Ninth brother, what's going on? Isn't she ninth sister? That's impossible, right? Aren't her looks too similar? Wait. That also isn't right. How could ninth sister have such a terrifying aura? Her every move and gaze is too freaking scary. When she looked at Qin Shiyuan just now, she didn't treat Qin Shiyuan like a person. She seriously isn't like ninth sister. Lin K murmured. It's not just Qin Shiyuan. I feel like she doesn't consider anyone here an actual person aside from President Lingjun. She's too arrogant and conceited. Yu Xiao frowned deeply. In all his life, he had never met such a condescending woman. He could tell from a single glance that she wasn't easy company. Damn, it's superiority emanating from her bones. All right? Her aura is too similar to ninth brother's, right? No, wait, it's 100 times, no, 1,000 times, more than ninth brother's. Lin K said. Ninth brother's superiority was restrained inside, while that woman didn't conceal hers in the slightest. Si Yihin coolly glanced at Lin Quebec. Ninth brother, that's not what I mean. I'm saying that girl is too much. Lin K explained himself immediately. As Yin Yuerong watched the girl slowly walking toward Lingjun, confusion entered her eyes. In Yun City, she met Worryless Nye herself. Worryless Nye was very pretty indeed, but she didn't fully brandish her beauty. This girl was completely different and paraded her beauty to the last centimeter. Furthermore, Worryless Nye didn't have any aura worth mentioning. This girl, though, the aloof aura she emanated could only be from every fiber of her being. It was as if she was destined to become a superior leader since she was born. The bone-deep apathy she displayed when she looked at people didn't seem to be feigned. This girl was stunningly beautiful, but her personality appeared to be immensely prideful and icy. Aside from her father, she looked down on everyone. Thankfully, she didn't act rashly earlier. But Yin Yuerong still retained her suspicions. How could there be two people who looked this identical in the world? Could it be that there was something odd about this? Was this girl actually President Yi's daughter? Could it be that she was Worryless Nye? Father. The girl walked up the stage and looped her arm around Lingjuan's arm. Only then did the apathy in her eyes recede a little and turn into gentleness. Good daughter, introduce yourself to everyone, Lingjun said in good spirits. The girl glanced at everyone and said, Father, I don't think that's necessary. The prerequisite for me introducing myself is that there should be someone I would like to befriend and get to know. Apologies, Father, but I haven't found someone like that yet. Yunma, don't be so insensible, Lingjun said. The girl was indifferent. Father, you should know that I've never been sensible since I was young. Sigh. I'm very sorry, everyone. My darling daughter was pampered and spoiled since childhood and might still be unfamiliar with this kind of occasion. Please don't take it to heart, Lingjun said with an exasperated expression, but there wasn't a hint of reproach in his eyes. A higher-up vehemently shook his head and hastily said, Nonsense, President E. Miss Yuma has an extraordinary aura and doesn't behave like normal people and has her own personality. It's very uncommon to see a girl that's self-aware with such strong views anymore. That's right. Director Gao is right. I think that someone with this type of personality must be impartial, incorruptible, and very well suited for entering the arbitration council and holding an important position. All the directors started agreeing and lauding her at the same time. The attention that was originally directed toward Qin Shiyuan also shifted instantly. An older director asked with an apparently casual air, President, since your daughter is so outstanding, she must be taken already, right? A person nearby also said, Sigh, I wonder who has the good fortune of obtaining Miss Yi's favor. Lingjun glanced at his daughter and responded, I wish there was someone by her side to take care of her, but unfortunately, she hasn't encountered anyone she likes yet. In other words, she didn't have a boyfriend yet. President Yi's daughter, his sole precious daughter, was actually still single. Many people's eyes brightened when they heard this news. Yi Wanwan remained haughty when faced with everyone's concern and goodwill. However, Jun was closest to her and didn't miss her little glances. Jun cleared his throat and continued to chat with everyone while imperceptibly leaning close to Yi Wanwan's ears and whispering, "Good daughter, restrain yourself a little." "Restrain what?" Yi Wanwan asked. Your gazes toward Director C. "What's wrong with me looking at my man? If you look any more, you'll drop your disguise." "Don't worry, I won't drop it. I'm someone whose closet is filled with disguises. Don't underestimate me." Anyway, she couldn't be faulted for this. She truly couldn't help herself since Si Yihan was seriously too handsome today. Perhaps it was because tonight's banquet was rather important, so Si Yihan wore a luxurious formal suit on this rare occasion. The heartache-inducing fatigue on his face didn't impact his looks at all and actually amplified his allure. Jun led Yi Wanwan from the stage into the crowd. A sharp glint flitted through his eyes before he regained his fatherly expression and heavily said, "To be quite honest, my greatest trouble right now is dealing with Yunma's marriage. However, this child's taste is too picky and truly makes my head hurt." These words were no doubt a stone evoking thousands of ripples. Anyone with an iota of intelligence could understand him. President, he probably hastily brought Yunma back to recruit a husband for his daughter, didn't he? President, what are you saying? Your daughter is so beautiful and capable, so it's more than normal for her to have higher standards. After all, the man will be her companion for the rest of her life, so of course she has to choose carefully. That's right. There are so many handsome and talented youths in Tianshui City, and quite a few came today, so Miss Qin can take her time getting to know them. The young men who were fawning over Qin Shiyuan moments ago immediately fluttered toward them. A suave man wearing a light gray suit asked in a gentlemanly manner, "Missy, allow me to introduce myself. I am one of the directors in the Arbitration Council. I was born and have lived in Tianshui City all my life, so I'm very familiar with Tianshui City. You've just returned, so if you need a guide of any sort, I'm always willing to serve you." When the other people saw this man recommending himself, they all couldn't sit still and swarmed forward to make conversation. "Miss Yi's taste is truly splendid. Your outfit is seriously too beautiful." Many older higher-ups also struck up a conversation with Jun. "President, my son has also been abroad for many years, so perhaps he'll find some common ground with your daughter." "Oh, is that so?" Jun didn't reject anyone and politely chatted with each and every one of them, looking as if he was really seriously choosing a husband for his daughter. Yi Wanwan was at a loss for words. Could it be that he was really preparing to matchmake her? Why was he asking so seriously? Jun's attitude demonstrated that he basically wanted the whole world to be in chaos. Yi Wanwan retained her cold and haughty persona and frowned. "Father, I'm going over there." A beautiful woman was extremely beautiful even when she frowned. The irritation in her eyes was like the dewdropped thorns on a rose, and all the gentlemen around her were mesmerizingly dazed. Read more chapters at List Novel. Kami Yunma immediately inquired in concern. "What is it, Yunma? Do you feel unwell?" "The air here is bad." Yuanwan randomly tossed those words behind her and sauntered away in her high heels. In other words, she didn't like how loud this place was. Jun exasperatedly said, "This child, her personality is simply too unsociable." Although her tone and the way she spoke made many people displeased, no one dared to comment on it. After all, Iyuma wasn't targeting a single person and was targeting everyone. No one would stick their head out first to reason with her. Instead, her personality was arrogant like a raging inferno and haughty like a frosty glacier, evoking the desire in many men to conquer her. Qin Shiyuan was beautiful but lacked a unique personality. She was akin to a fresh flower meticulously nurtured in a greenhouse. Furthermore, whether it was looks or family background, Qin Shiyuan and Yunma were from completely different levels and couldn't be compared. It appeared that from today onward, the titles of Tianxue City's #1 socialite and #1 beauty would both change hands. It was uncertain whether it was intentional or accidental. But Yi Wanwan just happened to walk toward Yin Heng and Qin Shiyuan. The girl stepped closer and closer, her aura and stunning looks captivating everyone she passed. Like every man present, Yin Heng involuntarily tightened his grasp around his wine glass. Yin Heng watched as the girl approached him, and he stepped forward, courteously raising his glass toward her. "Missy, my name is Yin Heng. I'm director Yin Yuerong's son." However, the girl treated Yin Heng like air and acted like she didn't see or hear him. The other guests were naturally witnesses to Yin Heng being ignored, and discussion ran rampant again. PFT, he actually got ignored. That's a man Miss Qin took a fancy to, but Yun Ma didn't even look at him. Please, Miss Yi's standards must be much higher than Miss Qin's. What's weird about that? The slightly embarrassed Yin Heng could only smile cordially and withdraw his cup, pretending not to care. As Qin Shen listened to the chatter around her, her expression turned darker, and displeasure entered her eyes as she looked at Yin Heng. "What, you're getting ideas?" Qin Shiyuan glanced at Yin Heng. Yin Heng was briefly startled before promptly shaking his head. He calmly replied, "Miss Qin, she's President Yi's daughter after all, so it'd be within my duty to toast to her. As for how she responds, that's unrelated to me." As a man, he was naturally more attracted by women like Yunma. However, Yunma towered after the heavens, and she was someone he could gaze at but couldn't touch. On the other hand, Qin Shiyuan was a sure shot already. There was no way he would offend Qin Shiyuan because of Yunma under these circumstances. "You're rather good with your words." Qin Shiyuan harumphed. How could she be clueless about Yin Heng's thoughts? She was originally supposed to be the sole focus today and enjoy the coveting gazes of all the attending men. However, she never expected Yuma to drop from the sky, or all the men circling her a second ago to all swarm toward Yunma. Instead, Yin Heng was no exception. Many higher-ups of the Arbitration Council were itching to give Yi Wanwan a shot, but no one dared to strike up a conversation with Yi Lingjuan's precious daughter. Read more chapters at List Novel. Kama's kind of person was chilly like an ice block and looked down on every living being present. Conversing with her would be a masochistic act. Ninth brother, she should be ninth sister, right? Aside from identical twins, there can't be two people who look exactly the same in this world. Lin K asked Si Yihan, confusion brimming on his face. Si Yihan's gaze settled on the girl, but he remained silent. Si Yihan immensely venerated and admired the president of the Arbitration Council, Yi Lingjun, and didn't think Yi Lingjun would lie and deceive everyone. However, his instincts told him that girl couldn't possibly be some Yi Yunma person. Hence, there could only be two explanations. This chapter is scrapped from Read Light Novel. Yi Lingjun previously mentioned that he became estranged and lost contact with his daughter, Yi Yunma, many years ago. It was possible that Yi Wanwan employed some kind of method to fool Yi Lingjun and became Yi Yunma. The other possibility was that President Yi Lingjun was truly deceiving every single one of them. However, why? After exchanging some conventional greetings with everyone, he immediately ran off to find his precious daughter. "Why were you talking for so long?" Yi Wanwan grumbled bemoaningly. "Aren't I here now? Good daughter, what is it? Do you finally need father's help for something?" Yi Lingjun asked with anticipation. Yi Wanwan bobbed her head eagerly. "I do. Hurry and introduce me to Si Yihan. I think you're the one who has a split personality, right, good daughter?" Thank you. I'm merely surpassing the one who taught me." Yi Lingjun. Director Si. Yi Lingjun shouted, breaking Si Yihan out of his contemplation. Si Yihan nodded lightly and walked toward Yi Lingjun, involuntarily glancing at the girl standing next to Yi Lingjun. "President," Si Yihan greeted him. "Director Si, I will consider your earlier suggestion. Young people should be more courageous anyway, and it's not a bad thing for you to develop ideas that are ahead of your time. Ling Jun said with a smile. Thank you for your support, President, Si Yihan replied. All right, let me introduce you. This is my daughter, Yunma. Ling Jun pointed at Yi Wanwan next to him. When Yin Hung saw this scene, his brows locked together and a shadow enveloped his eyes. Why was President introducing his daughter to Si Yihan? He finally managed to gain Qin Shiyuan's favor with great difficulty. If Si Yihan sank his claws into Yi Yunma, everything would be wrecked. Miss Si Yihan looked at Yi Wanwan, his frosty face not revealing any change in emotions, as though he was wearing a mask. His austere and unworldly aura permeated the air around him. Yi Wanwan merely glanced at Si Yihan and looked away without a single response. However, this was what played out in her mind. So handsome. Why is he dressed so nicely today? It's not like I can strip him right now. No, control yourself. Your persona can't collapse. When Yin Hung, who was a little nervous moments ago, saw this, he inwardly sneered, derision and mockery brimming from his eyes. Yunma was haughty to the bone and considered everyone else beneath her. So how could she respond favorably to Si Yihan? Who cared about how capable or outstanding Si Yihan was? His taste was too pitiful, and he just had to ruin everything because of a woman. Otherwise, he'd truly be at a loss if Si Yihan managed to attach himself to Qin Shiyuan. As for Yunma, her appearance was incredibly surprising, but she evidently didn't have any intention of befriending any of the guests, so it wouldn't impact anything. He would still stomp Si Yihan beneath his feet in the end. Ling Jun looked at Yi Wanwan and unwittingly chuckled. Her pretense was pretty on point. She was truly worthy of being his disciple and daughter, inheriting a pinch of his capabilities. At this moment, melodious music started playing, and the banquet formally began. Miss Qin Shiyuan, may I invite you for a dance? Soon, many young men from the Arbitration Council approached Qin Shiyuan with the desire to ask her for a dance. Although Qin Shiyuan came with Yin Hung, many people were unwilling to give up. As for Yi Yunma, after the series of failures just now, nearly everyone gave up and was settling for second best. No need. I have a dance partner already. Thank you. Qin Shiyuan courteously rejected them with a faint smile on her face. Miss Qin Shiyuan's dance partner is naturally Yin Hung. Everyone couldn't help but look toward Qin Shiyuan and Yin Hung. The corners of Yin Heng's lips turned up, his aura impressive. The couple attracted many people's gazes. People watched as Yin Hung courteously extended his hand toward Qin Shiyuan. Upon seeing everyone's attention focused on her again, Qin Shiyuan's expression finally eased, and she gracefully placed her hand on Yin Heng's hand. Qin Shiyuan had an elite education since she was young, so she was like a fish in the water at this kind of social function. She was fairly superb at the waltz and shared a rather tacitly matched dance with Yin Hung, winning a round of applause from the crowd. They really are a handsome couple made in heaven. Sigh. Yin Hung has the elegant demeanor and the looks, and he's also the future successor of the Yin family, so it's really hard to compete with him. Take a look at Director C. He chased after Miss Qin Shiyuan for a long time, but she completely ignored him. In the end, it was Yin Hung who succeeded. Director C must not feel good having to watch Qin Shiyuan and Yin Hung dance, right? Didn't you see? Si Yihan knows he doesn't have any hope with Qin Shiyuan. He couldn't even win against Yin Hung, but actually wanted to befriend Yi Yunma just now. Haha, what ridiculous joke is that? Even Miss Qin Shiyuan looks down on him, not to mention someone of Yi Yunma's status. Does he really think he can make every woman fall in love with him, relying solely on his face? It wasn't just women. Men could also be jealous. Si Yihan usurped such a high position in the Arbitration Council out of nowhere and became the youngest director in all of the Arbitration Council's history, and his looks had captured nearly all the hearts of every socialite in the city. Moreover, Si Yihan always traversed alone and didn't befriend anyone, so there were naturally many people who secretly disliked him. Now that those people saw how Qin Shiyuan was stolen from him by his brother, they were naturally rejoicing in his misfortune. I doubt Yunma considered him a person at all. Someone with her kind of personality considers themselves a god and looks down on everyone. Even now, not a single person dares to invite her to dance with them. It wasn't that no one wanted to befriend Yunma and share a dance with her. It was just that no one had the guts. Yunma's aura was too overbearing and apathetic to the extreme. A person like Yunma was disdainful of even conversing with other people. So wouldn't they be asking for humiliation if they invited her to dance? Soon, In Hung and Qin Shiyuan started whirling around dance floor. The handsome couple attracted nearly everyone's attention, eliciting envy in their watchers. In Hung imperceptibly glanced at Si Yihan, provocation in his eyes. On the other hand, Qin Shiyuan's gaze toward Si Yihan was filled with derision, clearly asking, "Do you regret it now, Director Si?" Sigh. One ideal couple they are. They seriously match each other perfectly. How nice would it be if it were me who was dancing with eldest Miss Qin? I actually want to dance with Miss E more. Keep dreaming. Ha ha ha. I also think I'm dreaming. Following everyone's chatter and admiration, someone noticed Yunma suddenly slowly walking toward the alone Si Yihan. When Si Yihan noticed the approacher, he imperceptibly peered up, his icy gaze shooting toward the girl, but he promptly looked away as if he didn't notice. Everyone thought Yunma was merely passing by on her way to the desserts. However, what caused their jaws to drop was when Yunma reached Si Yihan, she stopped and sat down on the high stool next to Si Yihan. The corners of Si Yihan's eyes turned up minutely. At that moment, there were many empty spots around Si Yihan. With Yunma's personality, she was fully capable of going to an empty spot without anyone around, but she just had to sit next to Si Yihan. Perhaps she randomly found a place to sit? As everyone thought that, the girl unabashedly looked at the man next to her and greeted him aloofly. "Director Si, nice to meet you." The attention focused on In Hung and Qin Shiyuan dissipated almost instantly and latched onto Yi Wanwan instead. Everyone was astonished. Yunma initiated a conversation with Si Yihan just now. A glint flickered and quickly disappeared in Si Yihan's eyes. He opened his mouth and replied, "Nice to meet you." Si Yihan didn't say anything else and probingly assessed the girl, as if wanting to figure out her intention. The girl retained her indifferent expression and tone. "Do you know how to dance, Director Si?" Si Yihan was startled. "A little." Yi Wanwan expressionlessly continued, "Let's dance together." Si Yihan, everyone. If people were able to forcefully explain this situation as Yunma casually greeting Sian earlier, they were now uniformly dumbstruck. The condescending Yunma took the initiative to invite Si Yihan to dance. Nearby, Lingjuan's face was as dark as the underside of a pan. Couldn't she have lasted a little longer? The sight of Yi Wanwan's shattered table surfaced in Medusa's mind, and she cleared her throat. She lasted a few minutes at least, and controlled her expression. It was very difficult already. Lingjun, how hard it must have been on her. No one had a stronger reaction than In Hung. He missed several steps and accidentally stepped on Qin Shiyuan's feet. Qin Shiyuan bore the pain and glared at In Hung. Only then did In Hung listlessly look away, but his mind had evidently drifted from the dance. He never would have expected Yunma to start a conversation with Si Yihan. She even invited Si Yihan to dance. Si Yihan seemed to be stunned by the girl's invitation and turned silent without answering. Yi Wanwan wasn't impatient, though, and maintained her icy face. Not a flaw or emotion could be seen from the duo's faces, and the originally outspoken crowd fell into a strange silence. A moment later, Si Yihan finally responded, "Apologies, Miss C, but I don't feel well today." Everyone. He rejected her? Si Yihan actually rejected her? Was he mad? Is Director C serious? He actually rejected Yunma? If he even looks down on the president's daughter, just how high are his standards? Only a goddess could obtain his liking, right? When In Yuerong saw his son rejecting Yunma, she nearly spewed out blood in her anger. She was blasé when his son told her he didn't like Qin Shiyuan and thought he was merely young and ignorant. She never expected him to dislike Yunma too. Everyone's eyebrows were raised. It's obvious Yunma isn't someone to be trifled with. I wager Yihin is probably in trouble this time. My popcorn is ready. Forget about them. But Lin Kei and Yu Xiao were also drenched in sweat. They might suspect this woman's identity, but her current identity was Lingjuan's daughter, and she wasn't a benevolent character. Yu Xiao didn't dare to watch anymore, while Lin Kei secretly pounded his chest and stomped his feet. Ninth brother, he actually rejected her this publicly? Couldn't he have showed her an ounce of courtesy? Anyway, ninth sister isn't here and won't see or know. Everyone waited for Yunma to blow her fuse and humiliate Yihin, but Yunma didn't appear to be angry in the slightest regarding Yihin's rejection. She merely nodded lightly in understanding before asking, "You don't mind me sitting here, right? Read more chapters at List Novel." "Come, of course not." Yuanwan then raised her hand, and a nearby waiter quickly sprinted over and cautiously asked, "Miss E, what is your request?" It was over. Miss E was surely about to erupt in rage. Yuanwan glanced at the red wine in front of Yiyin. "Take away Director C's wine." The waiter was bewildered. Miss E, you're saying? What did she mean by taking away Director C's wine? Yuanwan's domineering tone didn't allow any room for objection. "Replace it with a calming remedy, ginseng soup." The waiter, Yuanwan, frowned and added, "The temperature is too low. Director C doesn't feel well, so bring a blanket over." The waiter, Yihin, everyone, Yuanwan's series of signature, domineering CEO maneuvers successfully dumbfounded everyone. Qin Shiyuan finally couldn't keep dancing due to Inheng constantly stepping on her feet, and she fiercely glared at him. However, Inheng didn't have any presence of mind to comfort the complaining Qin Shiyuan and was incredulously staring at the duo in the distance. Under the resplendent lights, the girl's eyes were as gorgeous as the northern lights. Sitting next to the aloof Yihin, they enhanced each other's beauty. Two similarly icy people should be awkward when placed together no matter how you looked at it, but they gave others a sense of inexplicable harmony. Just when the world did Yunma mean? Didn't she think it was beneath her to speak to Yihin earlier? Why did her attitude toward him change so drastically all of a sudden? Of course, Qin Shiyuan was nowhere near pleased. She just made the claim that it was Yihin who chased after her, and she didn't like him. Now, though, Yihin rejected even the president's daughter. How could anyone with a pair of eyes believe her words now? As Qin Shiyuan expected, some people realized the inconsistency. Actually, there were rumors that it was Qin Shiyuan who pursued Yihin, but was rejected. I originally didn't believe it and found it impossible, but now I kind of believe it. After all, he rejected even Yunma. Say, do you think Director C doesn't even like women? I don't think so. I heard he has a fiancée. She's the second miss of Yin City's Nye family. Other people became reverent. That second miss must be a goddess, right? The waiter finally shook off his stupor and didn't dare to delay it anymore. He quickly left to prepare the ginseng soup and blanket. Yuanwan was about to say something when Lingjun walked over with a fatherly expression on his face. He lightly laid his hand on Yuanwan's shoulder and said, "Yunma, come with me. Father will introduce some friends to you." Lingjun, little girl, if you don't restrain yourself, you'll seriously drop your disguise. Yuanwan unhappily clicked her tongue internally, but knew she shouldn't overdo it. And so Yuanwan turned to Yihin and apathetically said, "Excuse me, Director C." Soon, she followed Lingjun and left. Not long after Yuanwan left, Lin Kei and Yu Xiao came running over. Lin Kei still looked frightened. "Damn, that scared me to death. Ninth brother, what's going on?" Iyuma's reaction was scarier than her losing her temper on the spot. Yu Xiao furtively suggested, perhaps she purely wanted to show some concern? Lin Kei looked at Yu Xiao like he was an idiot. If it was anyone else here today, that might be possible. But it was Yunma. Look at her condescending demeanor and how she won't even waste her words on anyone. Do you think she would show concern for a person out of boredom? Yu Xiao stared at him. What do you think was the reason then? Lin K. You didn't dare to say. Lin K turned to Si Yihan. Ninth brother, say something. Si Yihan glanced at Lin K from the corner of his eyes. Say what? Iyuma took a liking to me? You said it yourself, all right? I didn't say anything. It's the truth that your face attracts too many admirers. You can't fault me for thinking wildly. Lin K took a gulp. Ninth brother, I'm about to go crazy. Just how is this woman connected to Ninth sister? How about you give her a call right now and ask? Si Yihan glanced at Lin K again. If Wan Wan is sincerely trying to conceal herself from me, she would have made preparations beforehand, and we couldn't weasel out any truths even if we called her. Si Yihan paused and continued. If Iyuma isn't Wan Wan, then my phone call, sweat-drenched Lin K when he heard that. If she isn't, then you'd be startling the snake. Ninth sister will find out you're attracting admirers again. You'll be dead for sure then. Ninth brother, you're far better at thinking ahead. You're too impressive. When Yu Shao heard this, he also nodded frantically. However, sir, what should we do now? Yu Shao cautiously inquired. Director C. The waiter's footsteps were heard at this moment. The waiter was very efficient indeed, and quickly sent over the ginseng soup and blanket. I'm truly sorry, Director C. There wasn't any ginseng soup prepared for this banquet, so we sent our people to the best hotel in Tianshui City to obtain some. The waiter's attitude towards Si Yihan had completed a 180, and he spoke attentively. Si Yihan nodded and dismissed the waiter. After the waiter left, Si Yihan flicked open the lid of the ginseng soup before glancing at Yu Shao and saying, We'll wait and see. They did have a few methods to test who she actually was. On the other side, Lingjun finally Yi Wanwan dragged away. To shift her focus and prevent her from flying around unrestrained, he led her around a gathering of higher-ups. Although Iyunma's attitude, just now, made everyone slack-jawed, it also ignited many people's hopes again. It turned out Iyunma wasn't ignoring everyone. It meant they also had a chance. In addition, Lingjun was personally introducing people to her and creating opportunities. So many people approached her again. A director furtively offered an invitation. Miss E, you seem to like dancing. May I have the honor of dancing with you? I'm uninterested, Yi Wanwan replied. The director was startled, embarrassment creeping onto his face. But you personally invited someone to dance with you minutes ago. Why are you uninterested now? He thought Yunma liked to dance at least, but who would have expected her to straightforwardly say she was uninterested and regain her haughty demeanor? Read more chapters at List Novel. Wasn't this preferential treatment too obvious? Currently, Yuanwan was thinking, like your ass. What I like is the person who danced with me, all right? An old higher-up led a fair and pretty youth over to Lingjun and said with a grin, President, this is my son. He's a devoted fan of yours and attends every seminar you hold. Missy, you've just returned to Tianshui City and don't know many people. If you get bored, you can call him anytime. My son might not be good at much, but he's attentive and thoughtful. Yi Wanwan reflexively surveyed the youth. He was a clean-shaven, fairly young man. He seemed fairly innocent in the ways of the world, so his eyes were very clear and his appearance comforted the viewer. However, as the youth listened to his father, his eyes brimmed with despair and humiliation. He was clearly forced and was unwilling to do this. When Yi Wanwan saw the youth's gaze, she inexplicably felt something was amiss. Why was this scene so familiar? At a banquet, an immoral father tried to send his daughter to a domineering CEO's bed in order to gain said CEO's favor. Did she grab the wrong script? Yi Wanwan was aghast and hastily halted those terrifying thoughts. Nearby, Xiyin also watched this scene of men of all sorts surrounding Yi Wanwan and courting her. When the higher-up saw Yi Wanwan's gaze landing on his son, and surprisingly not looking displeased, hope ignited in his heart, and he advertised his son with increased enthusiasm. Ayang, hurry and introduce yourself to Miss E. The higher-up shoved his son. The youth named Ayong had his lips tightly pursed, and his complexion looked ghastly pale as he stood unmoving in his spot. The higher-up turned anxious. "Why are you foolishly standing there?" The youth pushed his father away. "Sorry, I have something to do. Please excuse me." The higher-up nearly stomped his feet in anger upon seeing his son dashing away. He hastily turned to Yi Wanwan and apologized. "I'm truly sorry, Miss C. This child is a bit introverted and shy with strangers." Yi Wanwan casually replied, "He is quite the character. Someone who could remain this frank in the independent state, and especially within a circle like the Arbitration Council, was truly a rare sight." The higher-up didn't know whether Yi Wanwan's remark was a compliment or an insult, so he laughed it off and kept apologizing. However, seeing that Miss E didn't look angry and said his son had character, she probably was satisfied to some degree, right? That punk was too impertinent, but the higher-up had plenty of methods to make him submit. He just had to tie that punk up later and send him over to Miss E. His term of office was nearing its end, and he might be replaced next term. It would be difficult to ingratiate himself with President E, but if he could gain Yunma's favor, he'd be able to rest easy. Throughout the entire night, in order to ensure that Yi Wanwan didn't have time to seek out Si Yihan, Lingjun acted like a butterfly. He forcefully pulled her and fluttered all over the venue. Yi Wanwan finally made it to the end of the banquet. Luxurious cars filled the entrance of the venue, and all the prominent figures and higher-ups began to leave. Yi Wanwan looked around the crowd, but there were too many people, and she couldn't find a trace of Si Yihan. Yi Wanwan angrily glared at Lingjun. Lingjun raised his brows. "Why are you glaring at me, huh? Look at how pitiful you are. He publicly rejected you earlier, all right?" Yi Wanwan wasn't irked by that, and started gloating instead. "So what if he rejected me? My darling is seriously too handsome when he rejects me, all right?" Lingjun. Although he couldn't stand watching his little disciple being utterly bewitched by and infatuated with a man, Si Yihan performed rather well tonight. He actually declined such an alluring temptation. Lingjun saw him in a new light. They had to act out the whole play, so Lingjun had arranged a place for Yi Wanwan to stay already. Yi Wanwan was waiting for a car to pick her up as she searched for Si Yihan. This chapter is scrapped from Riyadh Light Novel. Organ the night, she was merely standing there casually, but she was dazzling like the sun, making people unable to look away. Missy, a man's voice drifted from behind Yi Wanwan, and she reflexively looked behind her. Inhung was standing there. When faced with people the girl didn't care about, she didn't seem to have a desire to utter a single word. The ignored Inheng's expression quickly returned to normal. He began, "Hello, Miss C. I didn't have time to introduce myself earlier. I'm Inhung, Director C's adopted brother." At the sound of Director C's adopted brother, the girl finally spared him a glance. Inhung apologized. "Missy, my elder brother has a peculiar personality and is hard to get along with. If he offended you in any way earlier, please forgive him, Missy." Inheng's tone shifted, and he explained, "My elder brother has a fiancée already. I heard she's very controlling and also has a disagreeable disposition, which is why my elder brother rejected your invitation, to avoid causing a misunderstanding." Inhung chuckled and added, "Of course, my elder brother was overthinking too much. Why would you have that kind of intention toward my elder brother?" Before Inhung could finish speaking, the girl nonchalantly glanced at him. "What if I said I did?" Inhung. Late at night, in the ancestral In residence. After arriving home, In Yuerong stripped off her jacket and entered her bedroom. "Madam, you're back." The housekeeper quickly welcomed her and took the jacket from her before pouring her a cup of tea intended to dissipate the effects of alcohol. In Yuerong normally had a very old-fashioned style of dress and perpetually wore the same outfits. However, since tonight's function was fairly important, she dressed a little more ceremoniously and donned a black evening gown. Although her outfit was extremely simple and she didn't adorn any accessories, it didn't affect her beauty and elegance at all. The housekeeper looked at her master and inwardly sighed. If it weren't for her master's obsession running too deep with her master's qualities, she could be protected and cherished by someone, possessing a fulfilling marriage. "Madam, what happened?" The housekeeper couldn't help but inquire with great concern when she saw Inuerong remaining in deep thought ever since her return. Inuerong took a sip of the tea before replying, "President, he introduced a person to us today." "Who?" "His daughter, Yunma." "What? Daughter? President? He has a daughter?" The housekeeper was astonished. Inuerong explained the night situation simply and revealed an amused expression as she asked, "What do you think?" The housekeeper looked bewildered. "So you're saying, madam, that President Yi's daughter actually resembles Worryless Nye that closely? How could such a coincidence occur in this world?" After the housekeeper said that, she recalled that Iyunma was personally brought there and introduced by President Yi and became uncertain. She hesitatingly asked, "However, their demeanors are utterly different, and it was President Yi who personally announced this, so there shouldn't be anything off about this. Perhaps they merely resemble each other? That's not impossible." Inuerong chuckled. "What you're saying is correct. Hence, no one doubted that woman's identity during the banquet tonight. Even Agio thought she was Iyunma." The housekeeper turned to her master. "Madam, could it be you're saying you don't think that woman is Iyunma and she's being impersonated by Worryless Nye instead?" The housekeeper didn't dare to finish her sentence. Inuerong's eyes glinted. "First, I saw Worryless Nye myself. The fact that there are two such similar-looking people in this world, and these two people just had to be Worryless Nye and Iyunma. Isn't that too coincidental? Second, President Yi said that he lost contact with his daughter for many years and only reunited with her recently. So how does he know whether Iyunma is being impersonated by Worryless Nye or not?" The housekeeper turned uncertain after hearing that. "But impersonating the president's daughter? Does that woman truly have a guts? Moreover, this isn't an easy matter. You can't just impersonate the president's daughter simply because you want to." Inuerong snorted. "Any Chiao, I'm afraid you're underestimating that woman too much. She's disguised herself under so many identities, and each identity has a fairly decent status. Plus, she managed to coax and deceive Agio so much that he completely obeys her. Do you really think she's merely an impulsive and brainless girl?" The housekeeper was incredulous and exclaimed in shock. "Could it be that Worryless Nye saw you were trying to stop her marriage with young master, so she conjured this plan and transformed into President Yi's daughter?" Inuerong snorted again. "I'm afraid her ambitions aren't solely limited to Agio." The housekeeper shook with fear the more she listened and asked, "Should I immediately send people to investigate her?" "You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.